Recorded in front of a live social media audience.
You think you're weird? I think you're dumb. You're fucking out and so makes me so fun. You're drunk now, just go home. You're drunk now, just go home. You're drunk now, just go home. You're drunk now. You think you're special? Listen to it all. You would like to tell me down, I feel perfectly cold. You're drunk now, just go home.
Coming to you live from the luscious loins of LaPel, Indiana. My name is Shipwreck Shep, hanging out always with Paulie motherfucking Punk. Our guest tonight is none other than Dr. Roadkill himself, Danny Thompson.
Hello.
What's up, Danny? How was your daytime commute?
Not bad. I thought it would be worse. So from Greenwood to here, there was a little smush up around 56th Street on 465, but other than that, fine.
What, was it right around 69, or was it when you were coming by Southeastern?
Yeah, it's right as you approach the 56th Street exit.
Okay.
Like the big hill.
Yeah.
Like from there to the 69 exit, it just was creeping along.
I bet. Yeah, it's
Didn't stop though, so
that's good.
That's not bad.
yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause it's usually kind of a backlogged area right there heading north. Yeah.
So how have you been, man?
I'm good, man. Yeah, I'm doing good.
Keeping busy?
I am. Yeah, I'm not as busy as I used to, but I like that. So,
Hell yeah. I caught you, it was probably 6 weeks ago. I caught you playing Hillbilly Happy Hour.
yeah, we're back there at the end of this month.
yeah.
Actually.
That's Friday. So what would that be, like the 17th?
30th?
30? Oh, of this month.
Yeah, this month.
So next Friday you're playing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that right? Am I right? Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. Today's the 24th.
I'll know here in 2 seconds.
It's been 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
No,
name of that-
I'm wrong. We're not there this month.
Okay. So probably the
We are at
18th.
half liter next week, but
Half liter.
we're there we're there in June, 30th of June.
Hey, I think that's what I actually said. Holy shit.
Yeah, there you
And
go.
that's the roundups, right?
That's the roundups.
And you said you're playing where next week?
Half liter barbecue in Broad Ripple.
Broad Ripple? Okay. I don't think I've ever
We're
been
there
there.
Saturday night,
Saturday. That's
Right
cool.
on.
7 to 10.
So, what I think we were talking about this earlier. What, how did the roundups come about?
I've known Jeff for about 25, 30 years, I'd say. And I first met him, hell, I don't know when I first met him, but back when Bigger Than Elvis first started and the whole sort of swing dance thing was happening and all that. I sort of met the roundups kind of formed around that time. And I sort of met Jeff through osmosis, just through other people and everything. And, but I've always liked him. And he used to own a frame shop downtown in the Stutz building. So that was kind of the place for people to go get stuff fixed. And like they did framework, but they also would fix guitars and stuff like that. So,
Mhm.
so through that way is kind of how I got to know him, and always liked Jeff. And over the years, I had a band called The Mess Arounds a long time ago, like 2009-ish, 8-ish, 9-ish. And Jeff played bass for me in that. And then me and him have done acoustic duos before where he plays upright and I play acoustic and just little things. But he had an opening in the roundups come up and I filled in for a couple of dates. He didn't have a guitar player and he said, "Hey, will you fill in?" I said, "Sure." And I just said, if you guys want, I can play guitar for you. And he was like, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." So,
Hell yeah.
so it works out. And I like it because Jeff trusts me and Jeff have it's weird how much in common we have musically. And especially with his background, he's from Kentucky. And so he's got a big country background, obviously, but he's also likes a lot of the same other types of music that I do. And a big connection is sort of that rock pile, Nick Lowe, Dave Edmunds kind of thing, Squeeze back in that era was going on.
Mhm.
And we both really like that. And I think we just have a weird common connection musically. So he trusts me enough to let me just do my thing.
Hell yeah.
And so I can't think of one time he said, "Hey, can you play this or can you not play that?" He just trusts what I do and he likes what I do. And
Hell yeah.
You know, I ended up doing their album. That's kind of how I got started. He needed a guitar player for his album. So I stepped in to do that. And I expected him to rip apart the things I come up with, and he was fine with everything. And he said it changed the direction a little bit of what they had in mind, but for the better.
That's a good fit then.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yes,
so
it is.
so that was very complimentary of him, you know. So and I was happy with that. So it's just a good fit. Jeff's a good dude.
Hell yeah.
That's excellent.
I over the years I've seen Bigger Than Elvis. I've seen the Danny Thompson. Was it Danny Thompson?
It's been Danny Thompson everything.
Yeah,
There's the trio and then deluxe, and so
man, I'll never forget. It's the first time I've ever seen anybody do it, but it was one of the Danny Thompson deluxe or whatnot bands, and it was a punk rock night, and I was actually getting ready to go take a piss, and I heard those chords come in, and I was like, what? And I stopped and I turned around, and then you did it again. You played a whole lot of Rosie.
Yeah.
And it was pretty much a sold out show. And I like turned around and like beamed to the front. And as I was like going to the front, every time you hit the chord, if you listen to them live or you've seen AC/DC live, they always yell hot and heavy. And I was like the only asshole that was going hot and heavy. Like it's like one of my favorite AC/DC songs. So that's one of my favorite memories of you playing live. It was the first time I've ever seen anybody play that song, and you fucking crushed it, man.
Oh, well, thanks, man.
It was really dope.
Well, that's one of my goals, is to make someone hold their piss.
Yeah, I literally was like, "Fuck the bathroom
You
break."
know, I've completed my goal right there.
He's playing a whole lot of Rosie. Holy shit!
I mean, once you've got the attention, you got to run with
That's
it.
right.
You know.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And what really got you into playing guitar in the first place?
My very first concert was Elvis Presley.
Oh,
I was 13 years old,
my grandma would love that.
and it was in 1977, June 26, 1977. And I went to that show. I mean, I kind of grew up listening to that stuff and liking it anyway. I mean, I was born in 64. So, you know, I should have, you would think I would actually be listening to more modern music at that time, but I grew up on my sister's record collection.
Well,
So,
Elvis was pretty hot at that time.
He
still,
was,
you know?
but I was always a little late behind everything. So I was into the rockabilly stuff and all that, but I really liked Elvis and the movies and stuff. I was all hooked on it. So I went and seen Elvis, and I came home from that concert. And the next day I told my mom, I said, I want to sing. And she bought me a $5 guitar at a yard sale.
Awesome.
And I never had aspirations of being a guitar player. I just wanted to sing, but I felt to sing I needed a guitar. So,
right.
So that's what kind of started it. And then she said, if you learn to play that one, we'll get you a little better one. And then about 3 months, I was playing 4 or 5 songs on it. And so she bought me a $100 guitar instead of a $5 guitar.
Hell yeah.
And then I was going to bring it tonight, and I walked out the door and forgot it. The acoustic guitar I have and use now, I bought when I was 16, and it's called a Dion. People go, I've never heard of it. Their Dion was around for a while. Back in the 80s, they were really popular with especially the country crowd. But I bought that guitar, and it's a good guitar, solid spruce top, solid mahogany back and sides. But I didn't realize at the time, but it was $550. So I was working at a gas station using my money every week to go put money down on it, and finally got it. And I've had that guitar since, and I still have it. I still use it today to play gigs with. Every Sloppy Seconds song on Destroyed, and every Sloppy Seconds song that I ever recorded with the band was written with that guitar, basically.
Hell yeah.
Wow.
You know, yeah. So, but yeah, I sort of snuck the long way around the barn there, but that's what got me into music, really. I mean, I was into music, but that's what made me want to perform.
Do you remember the name of the first band that you were in?
I was never in a real band really until Sloppy, to be honest. Yeah, I was never in a band that played out. There was a band called Twin Star that featured a couple of guys named David and Darren Short, who still play around. They're in a band called Rock Hollywood, big hair metal kind of stuff, you know. But they were younger than me at the time. I was probably about 16, 17. So they were a couple of years younger than me. And I think the only real gig we ever played was there was a Battle of the Bands at Greenwood Mall that we did or something one time. But the only first band I was ever in that played out was Sloppy, you know, and that was a big accidental thing. But I started playing out when I was 16. There was a guy named Don Hunsinger that used to play around town doing solo gigs. He called me and I used to go to his, because by the time I was 16, I was the same size I am now, probably a little bigger, but I've lost a little weight. And
Hell yeah.
So I could get into these bars, and back then no one really asked anyway, but I didn't take advantage of it. I wouldn't like get drunk or nothing. I would just go to see the music. Well, he would have me come up and play a song or two, you know, he'd let me play and sing. So that kind of got me into it. There was a little place on the South Side called Aristo's Pizza Place that turned into Bentley's later down the road. Anyway, I'm like, you guys are looking at me like, I've never heard of these places.
No,
it's like, but, and I got to do the same thing there. He'd let me come in and play every now and then. Well, one time he was playing at a bar in Wanamaker called Mike's Gold Mine. And he calls me and says, hey, do you think you could play 3 hours worth of music? And I was like, yeah. I knew like 12 songs. Yeah, you know, and I'm like, sure, I could do that.
Yeah, you know.
And he said, well, I want to go on vacation, and can you fill in for me one night there? And I said, sure. So I learned as many songs as I could. I think I had like 20. I went in, I played from like 10 to 1 in the morning, finished the night. Bartender comes up to me, hands me $60 and says, good job. And I said, is this for me? He said, yeah. I said, oh, that's great. Thanks. And he said, hey, would you want to play here every Saturday night?
Oh.
I said, are you going to pay me every Saturday night? He said, yeah. I went, yeah,
count me in.
So I started at 16, started a regular gig at Mike's Gold Mine. On Monday, I went to school and quit. I thought, I'm making $60 every week playing guitar.
Right. What else do you need, man?
Yeah. You know, so that was the beginning.
Hell yeah.
So
that is fascinating.
And I did that. And when that's how I met Sloppy, was they seen me performing at Aristo's. One of their friends was having a birthday party, and I was the entertainment that night, like not by coincidence. And BA come up and was like, man, he goes, I was still doing, I wouldn't do the regular shtick. I was doing the stuff I love, like, you know, rockabilly stuff and rock and roll stuff. But I was also big into like Neil Diamond and stuff like that. So, but I'm like covering the gambit. I'm doing all kinds of stuff. And he was impressed with the song choices I had. I wasn't doing like James Taylor and things like that, you know? So that's how we met. And he invited me to a party, and the rest is history.
Hell yeah.
That's pretty cool. I'm not a big Pandora fan, but about 10 years ago, I realized that Sloppy Seconds actually has their own channel on Pandora.
Yeah.
And now here's the one thing with Pandora. If you don't like any of the songs, like hit the like button or anything, it'll play great music. You know, you turn on the Sloppy Second channel and it'll play some awesome tracks. You'll be jamming for 2-3 hours. But as soon as you hit one freaking heart emoji on that,
see that app right there, Pandora app.
Oh yeah.
I was listening to
so
it
you're
on
well
the
familiar
way
with
here.
how that works.
I like Pandora.
Yeah. I mean, it's just if you make the mistake of liking
lazy
stuff,
to get Spotify.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I use the free version, you know, and I'm like you. I like the ones I like, and
yeah,
you know, and so it adheres to my personality.
Oh, well, that's refreshing to hear, because I didn't have the same experience.
But so far it hasn't let me down.
But when I started a new account and I've never liked one thing, and as long as I don't do that, I feel safe, you know. So, but
well, to be fair, I listen to the Robert Gordon radio, and I like that because it covers more than just rockabilly stuff. It's kind of all over that sort of neo rockabilly kind of thing. But and so if something comes up I like it, and then I'm sure to hear it again later.
Right.
If something comes up I don't like, I don't like it.
I'm gonna hit that thumbs down.
Yeah.
Thumbs down.
So like I said, I'm not disappointed. I do end up hearing a lot of the same songs over because of that, but I'm okay with that because I like them. So.
Fair enough.
So how long after you joined Sloppy Seconds did you guys come out with the Destroyer?
Destroyed.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Did I just have a did I just have a kiss moment?
Yeah.
We
Sure
I'm so horrible with sloppy history. You need BA here for that. He's like, he knows it all. I want to say we started playing together about 84 or 5, just fucking around. And then someone got the bright idea of, hey, we could record some stuff. So we recorded the EP, which I believe came out in 86. And it had 5 songs on it. We did that ourselves, all independently. And I think we pressed, I can't remember if we pressed 500 or 1,000 of them. I almost want to say it was 1,000. And I think the logic behind that was Steve said, the drummer, well, in 30 years, wouldn't you rather have 1,000 records sitting in the closet that no one wanted to hear instead of 500? And so it was one of those 2 numbers. But well, that got a lot of attention that we didn't think we were going to get. I mean, we were just fucking around.
Right.
Because those guys, that's the thing. I was the only musician in the band. Steve didn't play drums. Bo didn't play bass. I showed Bo how to go dee. Steve borrowed a drum set from a cousin or something. And the first time we ever played, he like rented a snare drum from somebody. We played a party. So fucked up. It was written about a party we had at BA's house, and I brought my PA and stuff over. So it just kind of was accidentally fell together. And then but we did the EP, and when the EP came out, it got attention. And one place that it really helped, Maximum Rock and Roll. Are you guys familiar with that?
I am.
Yeah.
I loved it.
We used to, before the EP, we would, in there, people would advertise that they were doing compilations, like cassette compilations or albums.
Mhm.
So we sent a couple of songs into those, and they got accepted. So they got on those, and we thought, well, that's cool. Then we thought, well, let's do our own. So that's how the EP came about, first 7 inches. And when, so one of the reviews we got was from New Music Express in Europe. And it was a very positive review. And it said what we wanted to hear. They said, basically, I don't remember it verbatim, but something like, if you like the Ramones, you'll probably like this band. Well, after that review, we started getting a lot of people wanting it, wanting to hear it, a lot of college radio play and things like that. Zero Boys were on Toxic Shock. Their first album, Vicious Circle, came out on Toxic Shock.
Yeah.
So we thought, well, let's see if that guy's interested in doing sloppy. He showed interest. He basically, a guy named Bill Sassenberger, and he put out Destroyed. He said, yeah, we'll do it. So we started recording. It took us a year to get it recorded. And Paul Mahern produced it. So we had him in our corner. Everything we'd ever recorded, Paul had done for us, so because he was just getting into the production side of things and learning his way around studios and things like that. So we were kind of helping each other out, and it came out in 1989, and it just went from there, and it did well for us, surprisingly well. Like I said, we thought we would have never, ever dreamed. I certainly would have never dreamed. If you'd have told me in 1984, you're going to be in a punk rock band, I would have went, you're stupid. I would have never, ever went in that direction. It disappoints so many sloppy fans when they sit down with me and want to talk about punk rock. And I'm like, I don't know. It's like, it's not that I don't like it. I like what I like, but I don't know a lot about the punk rock stuff, other than the things that I do like about it.
Yeah.
But I'm not I'm not one of those guys that delves into every part of it,
Mm-hmm.
and it breaks their heart when I tell them that. So I'm sorry, but the things I like, and I appreciate it.
Hell yeah.
But Steve would get mad because we do interviews for zines back in the day. I remember sitting in a van in Chicago one time. This girl was getting ready to interview us for some zine, and Steve's like, don't mention Neil Diamond and don't say nothing about Chuck Berry. So the first thing I did, of course, was mention Neil Diamond and Chuck Berry. But it's just where my influence, and I think that's what set Sloppy apart was my background.
Absolutely.
It's like me having the rockabilly background. If you listen to those records, I'm playing rockabilly riffs through the whole thing.
Yep.
The songs are pieced together like rockabilly songs, which rockabilly in general, some of that stuff isn't a lot of different than a lot of the punk rock stuff that came out, especially the chord progressions.
Right.
and some of the attitude. So I think it was just a good mix. BA is a freaking genius with words and melodies. Like those songs, the way the songs generally came was BA would come to me with lyrics and sort of a melody in his head. I'd sit there with my guitar, either at the end of my bed, at the foot of his bed, or on my front porch, and we would come up with those songs. I distinctly remember writing Veronica, sitting on the front porch of my house in Hoyt Avenue in Fountain Square, me and him just sitting there and him reading the lyrics and me banging them out on my acoustic. And that's where it came from. And then all those riffs are just the rockabilly riffs that I, grew up trying to copy and play myself.
That's pretty cool.
Hell yeah. Is there off that album specifically, were there any tracks that you really enjoyed playing more than any others, or?
Veronica's one. I always loved playing Veronica. One we didn't play very often was Time Bomb, which was like the last song on the album.
Mm-hmm.
I love the riff in that, and then you guys don't even know it, do you? They're like, I don't fucking know that song. That's not, I don't want to be a homosexual. But I used to love doing that. And we never played it that often, but a lot of them, I mean, pretty much all of them, I love playing. They're probably sick of playing them now, but they don't have a choice because no one wants to hear pretty much anything else but Destroyed. Even my favorite Sloppy album was actually Knock Your Block Off. I thought it showed our progression, and I think it was a little more, it showed our growth as a band a little bit. Everyone was progressing a little bit, but I think it was a little too mature in ways because we started getting away a little. We still have dumb songs on there, but it started getting away from the let's just get drunk and party songs, Yeah. But pretty much all of them there are very few on Destroyed that I didn't enjoy. Even Janie's a Nazi. What I loved about Janie's a Nazi was when it come time for the guitar solo, it's one note, just going, right. And it was just a fun album. The whole album was fun. I'm proud of that stuff.
Absolutely.
And I wish at the time we were doing it, I was a little more into it, because at the time we were doing it, I thought not that I didn't like the songs or anything, but I didn't appreciate it as much as I should have, because it just wasn't from my background. I approached it, which isn't a wrong way to do it. I approached it as we're just four good friends having fun, making some music, but I didn't have the appreciation for the music that I probably should have at the time. I definitely do now, looking back on it. I'm proud of it.
I'd say it still came out pretty good.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Regardless. So.
Yeah. It's like, you can tell listening to it that, speaking for me personally, that I was proud of my guitar parts that I put on there. I didn't put anything on there that was a throwaway. Like, I worked for that stuff. I mean, when you listen to something like a solo in Veronica, tell me another punk song that had a solo that was like that. And I guess your definition of punk would vary depending, because Veronica's not a punk song, but it is. I mean, it's what it says is punk, and the way it's said is punk. It may not be a super aggressive, but the attitude about it.
Absolutely. So I have a technical question that I've always wanted to ask.
Yeah.
So, so I'm sure there are other people that might wonder this. So Ben Weasel, or Screeching Weasel, they wrote a song called "I Want to Be a Homosexual." Is there actually any truth to the relation of that song to the song that you guys wrote on that album?
I think it depends on who you ask on what day.
Okay.
But they have denied that it had anything to do with our song. But I can't quote anything that I've read, but I know in the past I've read some interviews where they admit that it had a little bit to do with it, so I guess it depends on which one you're talking to. How could it not?
Yeah.
How could it not? Not that I think Sloppy Seconds was such an influential band that the Screeching Weasel wanted to write a, retort to it, but how is it not? I mean, it's an awfully big coincidence.
Right.
Yeah. You're not just coming up with that off the top of your head. And, two different bands.
Yeah. So I think
there's a tie there.
I believe there was, which is fine, but I know how it is. A lot of bands don't want to say, no one influenced us to do anything. So, but yeah, it definitely was a little bit, I'm sure.
Right on. Yeah. I just always wanted to ask that. So,
And by the way, I love that song though. I think their song is,
Oh, yeah.
is great. I mean,
Powerful.
that's a very addictive. It's an earworm, you know.
Oh yeah.
And the guitar in it sounds so powerful when it comes in, that chug, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I love it.
It's got that dope. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's one of my favorite questions to ask musicians when we have them on here. Over your time, is there a specific show that always stood out to you as one of your favorites that you ever played?
For me, easily. We played when we were one of the first tours to the East Coast we ever did. If I remember it correctly, we were supposed to play at CBGB's, and it was they would have bands there all the time, but it was one of those days where there was going to be like 30 bands playing or something, and there was some guys in a band called Love Gutter. Is that right? Yeah, Love Gutter. I know I'm going to get this wrong, and they're going to be like, "You fucked it up again." And they, we had sort of been communicating with them, and they said, "Look, why don't you play? We'll set up a show for you instead of playing that gig, because if you play that gig, you're going to have to park your van somewhere. People are going to steal your shit. It will get stolen. I know it's cool to say you played CBGB's, but do it some other time when it's your show or something like that, because you know you're going to be put on a bill where you have to get up and you're only going to play like 20 minutes anyway, and it's just going to be shit. Play here, we'll set you up a good show." So we decided to do that. This is the way that I remember it. It might be different because I told you I'm bad with this stuff. But anyway, we played their house. They brought us in, and I don't remember you could Google this and find out, but whatever the opening weekend of Batman, the first Batman with Michael Keaton came out.
Probably December of 1989.
Yeah, whatever. It was that weekend that opened. The reason I know is because we saw it that weekend. And they took us in and treated us like kings. I mean, they fed us. They gave us we slept in this guy's home that it used to belong to his grandparents. They had died and he was living in it. Had to have been a 12-room fucking mansion type thing, you know?
Nice.
And a big Victorian thing. Seemed like every room had its own shower. I mean, it was amazing. And they fed us like kings, you know? I mean, it was just amazing. And then we played a show in their basement that night. A guy named Rush Cahill. We played in his basement, and it was just packed with people that wanted to see us. And it was the best show of that tour for sure. Other than we did open for, during that same tour, we opened for, I can't think of their names now. Ska band. They were on Tang. Help me. You guys know who they are.
Operation Ivy?
No.
Not Ska band.
I'll think of it later in the thing. Anyway, we played at City Gardens in New Jersey, opening for them. Oh man, it's on the top of anyway, once I think of it, you're going to go, "Oh, those guys." And I remember playing for them, opening that show. And that was the biggest crowd we'd played for at that time. There was maybe 1,500 people there. So that was really cool. But even though we had done that show, when we played in that basement, there was maybe 200 kids there, at least 150, crammed into this hot, sweaty basement. And they just wanted to hear us. And we played everything we knew and a bunch of shit we didn't know, just because we played until we just couldn't play anything anymore. And it was to this day, I think of that show, and it was one of the best feelings I ever had playing a show.
Oh, yeah.
And so
excellent.
It was amazing. And I wish we could do it again. And I'm going to think of the name of that band. It's driving me crazy.
Aminich said Suicide Machines.
No, it starts with, I'm pretty sure it starts with an H. It'll come to me.
Right on.
It'll come to me. But to me, that's the show that stands out the most. Of course, we've had other great shows, but that one, Mighty Mighty Boss Tones.
Okay.
That's who we opened for. And we had just got signed to Tang when that happened. And I remember actually it wasn't, I think it was Batman 2. Maybe it was Batman 2. Batman Returns. Maybe that's the one it was. Because we had just got signed to Tang, and I think that was like 1990.
Okay.
I think that would be right. Yeah. Anyway, I remember asking the singer in the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones if being on Tang was good. He said, you'll never get any money from him, but they're great distribution. And he did not lie. To this day, we've not seen a penny from Tang for Knock Your Block Off.
Damn.
In fact, they still say that we owe them money.
Oh,
Which
wow.
is bullshit. Let's put it this way. A couple of years ago, they re-released Knock Your Block Off for Record Day, the Record Day thing, album day. And why would they re-release something that they never made money on? You know, so anyway, it's fine.
Tang.
Tang.
Taking a shot at everybody at home. We've had quite a few people chime in. We got Steven Riddle chiming in. We got Phil Killa.
Steve. Phil.
Craig Chaos.
Craigie.
Jeanette chimed in right at the gate. Hi everybody.
Craig always wants.
Hi Amanda.
We played it at I did a thing at the No one time, and I did some sloppy tunes, and I got Craig up to sing with me because I figured he'd know the words better than me, and he didn't know the words any better than I did.
No, if you were doing some dancing covers.
But his attitude was good.
Hell yeah. Love Craig. Love you, buddy. What did he say? He just chimed in. Love you, Danny. It's on YouTube.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So rockabilly, what was your first rockabilly show that you seen that really got you into? I mean, that really got you into liking.
You got to keep in mind in about 1981, all my friends was listening to
are dead.
Almost. We're listening to all the hair bands that were out at that time.
Yeah.
And listen, and like growing up, in the 70s when everyone was listening to Aerosmith and things like, which I love those bands, Aerosmith and Alice Cooper and stuff like that are great. But I was I'm watching Sha Na Na on TV. It's like I'm listening to Elvis and Carl Perkins and Jerry Lee Lewis and all that. And they're all listening to that. I wouldn't listen to the radio because it didn't have the music that I like to listen to on there. So in about 1980, I was watching a TV show called Fridays. You guys remember that at all?
I don't know.
How are you?
Me?
Yeah.
43.
How are you?
39.
39.
I'll turn 40
I'm
next month.
59. So I've got you guys by a few years. And there was a band came on there and started playing. It was 3 guys, and they just tore it the fuck up. And it was the Stray Cats. And it was their first national appearance in America on that show. And I was like, who the fuck are these guys? So that next day I went to a record store and looking for their album, and their first 2 albums were only were imports. They were released in England. They had just released Built for Speed, which was a combination of those 2 albums. I bought that, but I ordered the first 2, and I just felt like this is it. And then the next thing you know, the Stray Cats are all over the freaking place. MTV really pushed them up. So everybody was getting into the Stray Cats. And I'm like, I was into this shit for the last 10 years. You guys are just now discovering it,
Hell yeah.
So I'd always liked rockabilly, but when the Stray Cats came out, I just felt, yeah. And even when you listen to guys like mentioning Rockpile and Dave Edmunds, Dave Edmunds, well, he produced the Stray Cats' first few albums, but so it had a strong connection. I got to give BA props to that. BA introduced me to Dave Edmunds. I knew the Stray Cats, but he introduced me to Dave Edmunds. BA introduced me to a lot of good music. When I first started playing with Sloppy, before I did, he made me a Ramones tape. And it was the greatest thing I'd ever heard. I thought, who the fuck are these guys? And like I said, it just brought me into it. He really educated me into a lot of new stuff. I didn't, like I said, it didn't turn me into like looking for every punk thing I could find, but because he would play me some stuff and I just would not get into it at all.
Just didn't gel.
Yeah.
Right?
Just wouldn't hip with me, but some stuff was, and, but that I'd always been into the rockabilly stuff, but when the Stray Cats hit, I just felt vindicated. I thought, this is it. Okay. Right. You people know now.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, I'd always been into it, but I got to give the Stray Cats their props in that. Fast forward to Bigger Than Elvis opening for the Brian Setzer Orchestra at the Indian Roof Ballroom one time. 4 songs in, my amp blows.
Uh-oh.
Right behind me are Brian Setzer's amps. So his sound guy is watching us. I look at the sound guy and I point to Brian Setzer's amps. He goes, and I went, and he goes, no. So I had to plug a Telecaster into a direct box to go through this PA. Imagine how that freaking sounded.
Oh boy.
So that's how we had to finish the show. Found out later that Mr. Setzer, who I'd admired for all these years, was standing on a balcony watching us laughing his ass off. And from that moment on, it's like Brian Setzer is a fucking dick. And I met the guy 4 times. First 2 times, nothing special. The third time, he was really, really nice. He was touring for doing promo for one of his albums. He was at Q95. I knew one of the disc jockeys that worked there, and he said, "Hey, Setzer's coming in to do an interview. If you want to pop up, hang out, get to meet him afterwards." And I said, "Yeah." So I went. Afterwards, he come out. I got this cool picture of me holding his guitar and him holding mine, and we chatted. He a couple of friends with me at the time, and he signed everything, talked to us. It was really fantastic. And then the third time I met him, it was the picture that I have of me and him. I had got printed. He was playing at the Vogue, and I rushed out before the last song. And as he was leaving, he said, "Man, I ain't got time to sign anything." And I said, "It's a photo of me and you if you would." So he grabbed a marker and he just did a big scribble on it. You can't tell what it says. Got in his car and left. So I'm like, all right, then I get it. You're busy. You got to go. But then we played for him, and that happened. And from that moment on, the man is a talented guitarist, but he's a dick.
That sucks, man.
So
you've come to the realization.
Yeah. And
that's a bummer.
And on the flip side of that, not to get on a big Stray Cats rant here, but Lee Rocker, who we opened a few shows for, he was the bass player for the Stray Cats. When he came through, Bigger Than Elvis opened a few shows for him. He told us that Tufty could use his amp and stuff instead of swapping out bass amps at the time, because Tufty was also playing the upright. And he even asked me up to do a jam with him on a couple of songs. So, and just the sweetest guy in the world, and it just goes to show you that, you get a little bit of fame and it can either make you stay cool or it can make you be an absolute dick.
Yeah. It's, I meet a lot of musicians, and I would say it's pretty rare that you meet somebody that way, at least in my experience. But man, when you do though, it's like, damn boy, can't you be a little humble?
Well, Sloppy opened for Danzig one time, and everyone's always talked about how much of an asshole he is and stuff,
Cover your ears.
And
Craig.
Well, no, Craig will like this.
Oh,
and we after his set, I was standing on the side. He played at the Ritz, and I just watched the whole show from the sideline. So when he was done, he comes walking towards me and he's sweating like crazy, got a towel. And we had done an Elvis song called King Creole that night. Well, he does a version of Trouble. If you're looking for trouble, you came to the right place. Well, he did that night. So when he comes off, I said, "Hey," I said, we did King Creole, which Trouble's from. He goes, yeah. I said, that was great. And I said, man, you guys were awesome that tonight. I said, it sounded great. He goes, wow. And his voice was very hoarse. He says, my voice is really hoarse. He says, but felt it was a good show, good crowd. And I didn't talk to him long, but we talked for about 5 minutes. It was very cool. Granted, I did not mention the Misfits, but he was cool. He wasn't a dick at all. He was very nice and humble. Like, it wasn't like, leave me alone, get away from me. He was real cool about everything.
Hell yeah.
So I guess it just depends on the day, but
it may have also helped that you didn't mention the Misfits.
Probably. Probably.
Is it true that he's like really tall, like 6'6" or something?
Yeah, he's taller than me. I just was shocked.
Oh,
now we're telling stories.
I gotta hit the button.
Yeah,
he's like,
no, I think he caught me like just at the nipple line, maybe.
Yeah. That's a thing I've noticed with a lot of lead guitar players lead singers out there, that they're actually really short. Like Billy Joe Armstrong, he's like really short too.
So his fingers can get in tight spit. You know what I mean? It's a smaller hand. Like it's not meant for a short neck guitar.
People, I've been kind of not purposely ignoring the scrolling thing here. So if I've missed something, say it again or.
Some people chimed in like Craig, when he started talking about Setzer, he's like, "Oh, here it goes."
Yeah.
And then Mindy chimed in.
Yeah.
I knew those stories were coming. That guy was a turd. Setzer. Speaking of Setzer.
Yeah.
So I want to like come back from the last question and ask, like, is there a show that you remember that was like the worst? Like,
Now, are you talking about sloppy or in
no,
general?
any show.
Oh, well, then I need to back up another one. One of the coolest shows that
That's cool.
I played by
yeah.
myself, Craig had mentioned what happened that's on YouTube, was we opened for I always forget his name. What's the dude that sings for the Dead Milkmen? Guitar player guy. Joe. I want to say it's Joe something. Anyway, I can't remember his name. It's just
horrible with names.
Yeah. So anyway, we did a we thought he was doing an acoustic thing. So Dave and Rob asked if I would do an acoustic set that night. So I decided I'm just going to do an all Sloppy Seconds acoustic thing. And I won a punk rock award for that show.
Hell yeah.
But it was amazing. I'm out there, but with my acoustic guitar playing these sloppy songs, the entire crowd crammed up against the stage. It is on YouTube, singing along with it and everything. I mean, it was amazing. It was so much fun. And that was a big one for me, just feeling that all the love from those people, that 150 or so people that was crammed in the mill singing those songs along to me, that was a really nice one for me.
Hell yeah.
But I mean, I've done, with Bigger Than Elvis, we've opened so many cool shows for like I said, we've opened for Setzer. We've opened for so many people. Reverend Horton Heat, we've done a few shows for. I remember I was living in Missouri for a year, and we got called in to open for Reverend Horton Heat like on the last minute, and so I like packed it up and drove back to Indiana just to play the show. And after the show, I drove my ass back to Missouri. But just a bunch. But the Mel show just really was cool, just because it was so intimate but so big. So
Right.
that was really cool.
That's the thing about playing there. Especially like, man, I've seen some really awesome acts there, and to see them there than, a venue that holds like 500 plus, it's so much more romantic.
Yeah.
Than I know it's the way to put it, but man,
Yeah.
one of my favorite bands is Teenage Bottle Rocket. Over my lifetime, I've just learned to love them so much. And I had said for a while that one of my favorite shows ever was seeing them with No Effects and the Involuntaries down at the Marat.
Yeah.
And then Punk Rock Night booked Teenage Bottle Rocket, and all of a sudden that wasn't number one. It was like, oh, this is like way like, because it's like so much more personal, and just playing there and seeing bands of a higher caliber play there is just, it's so cool.
But my favorite thing about that No Effects show with the Involuntaries was just seeing Noah just glowing.
Hell yeah.
Through that whole show.
Hell yeah.
Noah Mackey was just like nothing could touch him that night. He was just top of the world.
Yeah.
I loved seeing that. He was just grinning and just into it and just going. And you could just tell nothing was ever going to get better than this.
Yeah. That was
great.
Yeah. Remarkable show. Glad you were there too, man.
Yeah.
Hell
It was
yeah.
a great show.
Absolutely. So, is there like a show that kind of like you always think about? You're like, God, that fucking show, that one show that kind of like got at you a little bit. And you know what? It doesn't have to have anything to do with your set or even necessarily at the venue. It's just like, because like for me, one of my worst experiences was on the way home from a show in Kokomo, a deer ran out in front of the car in front of us and ran it over. All of its guts and blood like flew over the truck. So I'll always remember that night as like, wow, that was like, the show was cool and all, but I always kind of remember that night because it was like, oh fuck, it was a whole fucking nightmare.
Well, one that just immediately pops up goes back to the Stray Cats again. I seen the Stray Cats in Bloomington at the auditorium. No, not the auditorium. Which one? Anyway, one of the smaller venue in Bloomington, and on campus. But we, as I was driving home that night, I partied a little bit. Actually, I was driving. I stayed overnight there after, and I was partying because BA was going to school down there, and so this would have been like 82, maybe 81ish, and I got really drunk at the party, but I slept for a while, and I woke up and it was still like was like maybe 4 a.m. And I was like, fucking, I'm going home. And I was sober. I mean, I wasn't feeling drunk or anything at the time. So I'm driving home. Well, they had an all-night Taco Bell. I stopped at Taco Bell and got like 5 burritos. So I'm driving home and I'm eating these burritos and I'm cruising down the highway. And I noticed there's a vehicle behind me, but it's only got one parking light. So I figured, well, it's not a cop. So I wasn't worried about it, but I wasn't speeding. But I'm eating these burritos. So I'm occasionally when I'm unwrapping them, I'm like maybe weaving a little bit. Sure enough, cop pulls me over.
Man.
So gets me out, does the sobriety test, all thing. And he says, I'm taking you. He asked, he said, have you been drinking? I said, I said, earlier, I told him the truth. I said, went to see Stray Cats, was partying. After the show, partied with some guys, we got drunk and stuff. And I said, but that was like 9 hours ago. And I said, I slept. I said, I was eating burrito. He said, I seen you swerving. And I showed him. I said, I'm eating burritos. And I said, I was unwrapping one. So he said, he gave me the field test. He said, I'm taking you in for a breathalyzer. We get maybe 5 minutes down the road. He starts doing a U-turn. And I'm thinking, what the hell is he doing? And I'm like a little scared. I'm like, is this like one of those things you hear about, road cop,
Oh, right.
And so he says, I'm taking you back to your car. He says, I think you're going to pass the breathalyzer. And I'm like, oh, right on. But before we left, I had my guitar and stuff in the car. I said, hey, I need got stuff in my car. I don't want to leave it in there in case it gets stolen. So he lets me put my guitar and all this shit in the back of his car. So he's taking me back. Anyway, we get back to my car. I'm unloading everything. He ends up writing me a ticket for possession of alcohol. I said, I don't have any alcohol. He said, you admitted to drinking earlier and it's still in your system. So technically, and I was I wasn't 21. I wasn't 21 yet. I was only 20. He said, so because you admitted to it, it's still in your system. You're a minor in possession of alcohol. I ended up having to go to court over it. The judge laughed it off and threw it out. So I didn't have anything, but that sticks out as a what the fuck.
Wow.
So,
like that's crazy. Could you
possession of alcohol that I drank 9 hours ago.
Could you imagine like getting pulled over and the cop smells pot on you and then like hit you with the possession of marijuana because it's in your system?
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's wild, man.
Drew, love you too, buddy. Oh yeah, Craig, Joe Jack Talcum is the guy we opened.
Joe Jack. That's a name right there. Joe Jack.
Joe Jack Talcum. But there's been, man, I really wish I'd have kept a journal of all the cool things that I'd done and stuff because I'm not getting senile or nothing, but I'm very in the moment, and I don't retain, and I've never been big on past, like I don't keep a lot of memorabilia at home and stuff. Like I don't have a lot of photo albums and stuff like that. And, if you want to look at my past, you can go through my Facebook page, it's all there.
Right.
But, I don't know. I've just never been sentimental in that way, and I just kind of live in the moment of it. It's up here in spurts, but
yeah. I think that's probably the biggest reason why a lot of people try to collect things because they're afraid they're not going to remember.
Yeah.
I'll try to take, I don't know, anything that I can get my hands on, broken drumstick, set list,
sure.
frickin' pick. Whatever it is you can get your hand on, some coaster off of the bar, whatever.
I went through my moments. There was a time when I did have a bunch of stuff like that, but it was more memorabilia of probably more, famous people and stuff like that. But I've got to where I don't even have much of that stuff anymore because it's just not to sound cliche, but the older you get, the more that stuff just becomes stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it really does. And I started like,
it's not cliche. It's kind of really true. There's things.
I used to have a big monster collection of figures and stuff like that. And I sold it off and just because it's like, it was just more stuff I had to dust and clean and things of that nature. And I know that seems like a lame excuse to some people, but you find out that there's other things that are more important. And like I said, I still have the memories. I don't necessarily need to have reminders of them.
Is there a bucket list band that you had played with that kind of stands out to you?
Opening for Setzer was one of them. Opening for Reverend Horton Heat, that was one. Danzig, that was another one.
Hell yeah.
That was great. Cool. Another cool thing, little thing about this is where the memories pop up. was Steve had bought drum sets from JJ, mentioning JJ Pearson, who I love you, JJ. Steve Barron, when Sloppy first started, we went on tour with Toxic Reasons for a few shows. And JJ had this enormous freaking drum kit. It was just gigantic. It was red and huge and monstrous. Well, it was falling apart too. Well, Steve didn't really have a good drum set. So they offered to sell it to Steve. So I think it was like $200, $250, something. It was a Slingerland set. Well, It used to belong to Chuck Biscuits from DOA. JJ was a huge DOA fan, Canada proud. Right. And he loved those guys. Well,
what a last name too.
Yeah. And Chuck Biscuits later was drumming for Danzig, and we were opening for Danzig. And so he's sitting behind these drums. He sees the drums. He sits behind him. He's playing them. He goes, man, I used to have a set of drums exactly like this. And I said, you know what? Those are those drums. I said, you sold them to JJ. JJ sold them to our drummer. And he went, holy crap, So
there's like a full circle moment.
Yeah, a little connection there. So that was kind of
7
cool.
degrees of Kevin Bacon here.
Oh man. I never got to perform for him, but I shook Jerry Lee Lewis's hand.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. I went to his 65th birthday party. It was $200. But it was a weekend. You got to go to his house, his ranch, to have hot dogs with him, like have a little lunch with him. And which turned out to be just him coming out for 10 minutes and saying hi and going back inside. But I had poised myself unknowingly in a position that when he left to go back inside, he come walking straight towards me.
Smart.
And so I'm right there. And this is before phone cameras and shit, So I'm standing right there and he's walking at me, and I stuck my hand out and I said, Mr. Lewis, I said, I've loved your music. I said, I'm a guitar player. I said, but you're as much of an influence on me as anybody. And he looked at me funny. And he grabbed my hand. He said, well, thank you. Started to walk away and turned back, looked at me and goes, killer, and walked away. And I'm
all right, cool, man.
Kill me fucking now. Jerry Lee Lewis held my hand, looked me in the eye, and called me killer.
Hell yeah.
So that was
very cool.
Awesome. Not a opening thing, but it was really cool. But I've had the privilege of meeting and opening for a lot of people that I've admired, so it's all been good stuff. The only bad time was the Setzer thing. And, maybe I'm holding a little grudge that I shouldn't, but I mean, it's like, come on. Yeah. It's like we're all that's one thing I will say. And most musicians I've met, regardless of their tier, have always treated us like peers. They've never been, we're better than you or anything like that. When we opened for Dick Dale, those guys couldn't have been any nicer. How small that stage was at the middle. Oh, yeah. And they were like, if you need to move anything out of the way, go right ahead, just do whatever you want. They wasn't like, don't touch it. Bigger Than Elvis opened for Bruce Hornsby. You guys have any idea who that is?
I do.
Okay. We opened for Bruce Hornsby at Zubilation one time. And it was on this big, huge stage, which was like, if you're standing on the ground looking at the stage, it was like just above your head. So the giant big stage they had made. And it was full packed, grand piano on there for him to play and all this. Well, they wanted Bigger Than Elvis to open. So we went to set up our stuff. There was no room to set up our stuff. And so the guys at Zubilation wanted us to set up on the ground in front of the stage to play. And Tufty's like, I'm not doing that. And I said, I don't blame you. And we didn't need that much room. So I grabbed this big grand piano that's standing like this far from the edge of the stage. And I just start shoving. I shoved it back about 6 feet. So we just set up straight across that. We did our show. Everyone loved us. We were done. We did our thing and left. We didn't stick around for Bruce Hornsby. And we found out that he had a hissy fit.
Oh.
And I put the piano back, by the way. I pushed it back where it belonged.
How dare you touch my piano?
But Zubilation has never asked us to play again.
Oh.
Yeah, well, I mean, the band's done now, but I mean, that was in like, 19, or like 2000 or something, and we were together for 20 years, and they never asked us to do another thing for Zubilation.
That's crazy.
I know. That's what I mean. It's like what, but most musicians we've played for have been really cool about stuff. We're peers. It's like, you may have a bigger status than us, but we do the same freaking thing. I'm not I have respect for your equipment. You have respect for mine. I know that, no one's going to walk up to me and do something stupid to my guitar, I'm not going to do that to you either, So with the Setzer thing, first of all, I had two fucking bassmans behind him, which I've owned the same damn amp, Brian. So, it's like, I know how it works. In fact, Tom Woodard was playing an amp older than Setzer's that were behind us on the other side of the stage. So, he knew that we weren't amateurs, and it's not my fault. My tube blew in my amp, but you just think that it'd be cool. Like I've been opening, I don't know if you've ever seen, but there's been times I've been at the metal bands have been opening for us. Guy breaks a string. First thing I do is grab my guitar and hand it to him.
Hell yeah.
And it's like here. And then if they have strings, there's been occasions where I was like, do you have strings in your case? Yeah. I'll put another string on that dude's guitar, give it back to him. Right. It's like, that's what you do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. I don't care if you've been playing 2 years or 10 years. You respect the game,
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was playing a show with Some Kind of Nightmare, and the bassist, I played bass, and my cord had went out on me right in the middle of the set, and like she was on it. She grabbed her cord and brought it right up the stage, and we just went right into the next song. It was really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's this thing, you should definitely, it's a camaraderie, and that's how it should be, treated.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've had a amp go out and somebody would grab theirs, or somebody break their string and I grab my guitar for them. That's the way it should be.
Yeah. Hey, Katie.
Oh yeah, pop that back up. Miss Lawless. So the roundups, we'll just kind of swing back into that. So you got a show coming up Saturday.
Roundups are playing at Half Liter Barbecue and Broad Ripple. It's like at near 52nd and Winthrop. And we're there from 7 to 10 p.m. Speaking of the roundups, we have a new album out.
Hell yeah.
And it's available on Bandcamp. Just look up the roundups on Bandcamp. You find it there to download. We do have these ancient things called CDs.
Oh, I remember those.
So if you want a CD, we will have them at the show. You can come and buy one. And I believe it's free to, I don't think there's any cover charge or nothing. We're just, you come and eat barbecue and we're the entertainment. So
hell yeah.
You got floppy disks. I mean, if you had those, you could count me in.
I love how
I will mention that to Jeff.
I love how not VHS, Jesus, like tapes are coming back. Cassettes, yeah.
Dude, people are gonna hate on me, but fuck cassette tapes and fuck albums. It's like, it's so cool if you like them, that's fine, but don't come down on me because we're not doing an album. You want us to do an album? You pay the $5,000 to get 10 of them made. Yeah. It's like ridiculous, the prices of them nowadays. And I will fight tooth and nail to anybody that tells me that albums sound just as good as CDs. They do not. They sound good. They don't sound as good as CDs, especially if you play them more than 5 times. Mm-hmm. And it's fine. I love you for loving albums. That's great. But don't be mad or expect that we're going to have albums because they cost a fortune to make. And, if it's either that or you're going to have to pay us $40 an album. Do you want to do that? But the thing is, the people that are buying albums now will do that, which drives me crazy.
Yeah, anyway. It's wild, like how it picked up, and now it's like, I think either last year or the year before, vinyl sales actually exceeded the amount of CD sales.
I know,
and it's just like, I'll tell you, like I did have a record player, it broke, still need to get it replaced. Definitely at the bottom of my list of shit to purchase, but I have a pretty decent record collection, but the only time I really ever listened to them is when I was doing like the dishes or just cleaning around the house and stuff. Most of the time, if I'm listening to music, I'm streaming it.
Yeah. I mean, I get the intimacy.
That's fair. Yeah.
I get the intimacy with albums. I really do. I mean, I had 1,200 albums at one time.
That's a lot of weight.
Tell me that's why I got CDs. It's like I sold all my albums, replaced everything that I had on albums on CDs. So then I had at the time like 1,600 CDs. Sold those to John Zepps several years ago. And I said, hey, man, this would have been about 2011. I said, hey, man, I've got all these CDs that I'm transferring all to my hard drive. Do you want to buy them? And he kindly bought them all. So, and he had them at Vibes. And so now a lot of people in Indy have my old CD collection.
Hell yeah.
You know, but I get the intimacy of the albums things. You know, it sounds like I'm hating on the albums. It's not. It's just that for me, you know, for the nostalgia of it, I guess that's one thing, but I've already said I'm not a very nostalgic guy. You know, it's like I kind of eyes forward and in the moment. So I'm fine listening to streaming them and stuff, you know, but I'm also paying for that on the other end, you know, the sloppy stuff. I posted my, what do you call those damn statements from the streaming platforms of how much money I've made. It's like, you know, 200 and something thousand streams and I got like, you know, $14 or something. Woo! So it's like
you're blazing a trail there.
Yeah, you know, so I mean, I get it. I understand that the way a musician makes money nowadays is merchandise.
Yes.
You know, and
absolutely.
And
I always tell people that too.
Yeah.
You know, you run into somebody and you're like, you really want to, you know, help the band out. They don't really make anything off of the show. If you want to get them gas to get to their next gig or whatever, get a t-shirt, you know, or a sticker, even if that's all you can get, it's $1 and it literally goes straight into their pocket specifically, you know.
You know, it's with, I know that Jeff was talking about maybe not getting CDs made initially. And I said, man, I think you should do it. I said, especially with the Roundups crowd, it's tends to be an older crowd anyway. So they're a lot of them are probably going to want something physical, you know. So and he's talking about possibly doing albums too. So, you know, if the CD sales go well, he may get a few albums made for the hardcore people, but you know, that's his gig.
You heard it.
I'm just a guitar player, man.
So we are right at an hour. And we started doing this thing a few weeks ago.
Oh, it's time to do the box.
What's in the box?
It is. Yes. Good.
So, yeah.
Perfect time.
Yeah. Well,
what's in the box, Shep?
What is in the box?
What's in the box? So there's a bunch of random either questions or dares. So I'm like,
don't look so terrified. It's cool, man.
Yeah. Katie couldn't be here tonight, but she did write out a lot of these. So. All right.
80% chance.
I have a feeling you're probably not going to answer this, but you might. God. Fuck my life. Who do you hate the most? And why is it Brian Setzer?
Who do I hate the most?
Oh man, hate is such a strong word. Who do you really just don't like?
Try not to hate too many people.
Yeah, same. It's not a good energy to carry.
No, it's really not.
I don't know, man. I may have to think on that one for a minute.
We could just grab another one.
Yeah,
I had a feeling.
Just grab another one. I think we just get rid of that one.
All right, there it is. Sorry, Katie. See the hole. But what? Oh my God.
What do you hate the most?
No, it's another like, what? Oh God. What do your feet smell like? Dookie or Nuki?
I will take my shoe off and let both of you smell it. And they smell like fucking roses. I do not have stinky feet.
All right. Roses it is.
Roses. We got roses.
Oh my God. Yeah, so we started doing that a few weeks ago. It's kind of silly, but it's fun. Makes it just turns it a little
it's fine.
Strange, especially with those ones.
Oh, I know someone I can say I hate. And I don't think anyone cares anymore. I remember my ex Mandy. Marie. I figured you guys wouldn't. The old schoolers will know who she is. And I have a feeling they probably hate her now too, but I could be wrong. But that would be a good one.
All right.
All right.
But in hindsight, she did me a favor, you know, because it really is. And I'm turning into a little cliche thing here, but I feel like I'm at the best point in my life I've ever been. It's like, you know, I've dropped some weight, getting a little healthier, getting older, you know, but hey, what are you going to do? You know,
you're in a good place.
But, you know, I've met Sandy, and everyone that knows me that's been on my Facebook knows my story about Sandy. I met her when I was 8 years old.
Congratulations on your engagement.
Thank you very much. You know, I mean, we're just looking at it as life partners right now. but I've, at this point, I've known Sandy for 50 years, and, she's never liked me that way until recently, but I've liked her that way my whole life. When I was 8 and she was 12, I was totally in love with her,
This
but,
explains it a little bit more now. I
yeah,
get it.
but we got to the point to where, she was available. And that was another thing as I grew older and she grew older, when I was available, she wasn't. She's been married a couple of times, and there were long engagements and, long marriages, relationships. And, plus I had to. And so anyway, about 2014, she became permanently available, and I tried like the Dickens then to make something happen, but she wouldn't have it because we were such good friends. We really were. We could go to each other for anything. We was always in and out of each other's lives. Even if it wasn't for a long period, once we were, it was like no time had passed. So we finally in 2020, she decided. That's when I started doing the videos on YouTube because no one could play anywhere.
Mhm.
So I was doing YouTube videos and begging for tips. And she's seen some of those videos, and she has said her words. Me watching those made me realize we need to be together. And she reached out, and I didn't hesitate. And like I said, that was March of 2020. By July of 2020, we were living together.
Hell yeah.
So yeah. And I've never been happier in my life.
Hell yeah.
To
That's
be with
amazing.
somebody, I don't know, it's hard to explain. To be with somebody that you've always loved, and you
Right.
thought you're never going to be with them.
Yeah.
But, and I never made her feel uncomfortable, maybe once, but, maybe in 2014, she might have felt a little uncomfortable, but, even her son would tell her, Mom, you need to talk to Danny. He loves you. She goes, I don't want to hear it. She goes, don't tell me. Like her son, when he was, this is how well I've known her. Her son, I pulled his first tooth.
Oh,
Yeah, he wouldn't let no one touch it. I'm over at her house one time. He's just this little kid. He's in my lap. And I said, okay, I'm going to touch your tooth. And he says, okay. So I reach up and I grab it and I go, yoink. And it popped out and his eyes got real bright. But so it's just, to me, it's like going home. It's just,
Yeah.
it's always been there, and now it's complete. So there's your love story.
Congratulations on
There's your
that,
love
man.
story, audience,
Hell yeah.
right there.
It's amazing.
very, very, very cool. So when you sit down to write music, and and I don't know how you do it or whatever, but do you ever incorporate other instruments or use other instruments to maybe write a riff with, or a line or something?
Unfortunately, I do not. And I don't write often is the thing. It's like I need to be in a real motivated spot. It's like since I left Sloppy, I've written 2 albums, and one came out in '96, and the other one just came out, like 2 years ago, or about a year ago. And I'm so self-conscious about writing songs that it just takes me forever. But to directly get to your question, what I do, the way it happens for me is I get myself in a mode. It's usually just on a guitar. I did write a song on a baritone guitar, if that counts as another instrument.
We'll go with it
for my last album. But no, I haven't. I dabbled on piano once, a long time ago. In fact, there's a Sloppy song called Lonely Christmas that has a piano in it, and it's me. And when we first did it, Steve was like, we're not putting piano on any song. Well, piano's on the song and it kills. And and even before that, though, if you listen to I Don't Want to Take You Home, which was an early Sloppy song, where there's normally a guitar solo. There is a guitar solo, but all the rhythm guitars drop out and there's organ in it. And we do that on Knock Your Block Off on I Can't Slow Down. There was a B3 in the organ the day we were recording, and I'm like flipping, that's a real B3. And Mayhern's like, if you want to use it, do it today. Otherwise it's going to cost you. So it's kind of said, let's do the same thing we did with I Don't Want to Take You Home. I said, we'll just take out all the rhythm guitars and I just pound out the chords on this B3. And so if you listen to that, you'll hear that organ come in. It's just a really good thing.
I didn't know that Mayhern produced that album.
Yeah. He did Knock Your Block Off. Yep. He did everything Sloppy's done. And I think he did, I think he's done the ones since I left too. Maybe not both of them. I don't know. I don't really follow everything past me because why? That was mean. I'm sorry. I hate me the most. But so yeah, I just use a guitar, you know.
That's fair.
I go with
Yeah.
what I know.
Yeah. Right. It works. It works, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah. It's just always kind of interesting to see what, cause I've talked to this about Shep a little, did I say that right?
Close enough.
Okay. As soon as it came out of my mouth, I was like, what did I even just say? But yeah, I know that there's times where he kind of will come up with his original kind of riff, sort of maybe
Yeah.
on the piano,
Yep.
or just kind of messing around a little bit. And so it's always kind of interesting to see what other artists do, when they're creative, what their creative
Well, I got a
process
buddy
is.
named Joe Howard who actually produced my last album, and he helped produce the Roundups album. We even recorded a bunch of it there too. He did a lot of the recording of that album, and he's got his own thing called Angry Red Planet. And Joe's one of those people that will write on a guitar sometimes, on a bass sometimes, on a keyboard sometimes. So yeah, it's like
deep.
wherever the inspiration grabs him,
Yeah.
So, and that's the thing, I guess. I've never been motivated to have those. Like I said, once 40 years ago, I had a piano and I dabbled on it, never written anything on it, but that's how I got to play the piano on those songs, just knowing that little bit.
Yeah.
But I've never kept one. So I probably would utilize one if I made it available to me.
Yeah.
I have an interesting question, and it's kind of off of what you just asked, and I just kind of hit me. The last 3 songs that I've wrote, it was in my head, and I had to, grab a guitar and be like, I gotta get this down. Do you ever do that?
I've done that before.
Okay.
Yeah, I've definitely done that before. My typical way of doing it is sitting with the guitar and working I won't necessarily work all the lyrics out, but I'll work maybe the hook out or something in my head while I'm writing. But I kind of need to do them at the same time. I can't specifically remember ever writing a melody lyric first and then putting the guitar to it. But I've done the opposite. I've written riffs on the guitar and then went and added things to it.
See, that's how I've never.
But if I think of a lyric, if I don't write it down immediately,
It's gone.
yeah, or a neat idea, or this thing is, man.
That's
Here,
the notepad replacement right there.
I'll play you something cool, maybe. I don't know what order they're in though.
Sandy just chimed in.
Yeah, that's cool.
Sandy, what? Yay! Well, hell yeah, I do, baby.
So sweet.
So the first time I thought of Hooked, when I was trying to write that song, that's the title song off my album I came out with. I had this thing with me and I did this. You can hear it.
Well, baby, you got me feeling like I never felt before. My head starts vibrating and my feet don't touch the floor. My heart skips a beat every time I hear your name. If I weren't so doggone happy, it would almost be a shame. Whatever that it was, it made you take a second look at it, go try in my soul. 'Cause baby, you got me hooked.
So that's how I write now. That's how I can't do it. Yay! My love burns hot. That's how I do it now. It's like if I get an idea, I have to put it on there. I didn't realize the guitar was on there. Actually, I thought it was just me singing it. But I will just put the idea to get it down, and then later I'll try and go back and refine that.
Yeah.
Work it through. And that's the way it works out. So that's the one good thing about these little computers.
Mhm.
That's
Hell yeah.
awesome, you know.
I love that you said little computers because it's
Yeah.
legit what they are.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. It's like, go back in time and this is what sent us to the moon, dude.
Yeah.
This is more powerful than what
Like
sent us to
a
the moon.
million times
No
more
doubt,
powerful.
man. No
Hey.
doubt.
Are you back? Or are you not back? I can't tell.
Huh?
Your camera. Can you see Paulie on your screen?
Paulie, I do not.
Uh-oh.
Mm-mm.
I can see me over here. just fine.
So
I see a dark
Well,
thing.
let's,
Let's Polly with a mute on it.
I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna go to our sponsors. And Paulie, if you want to talk about construction company for a moment, I'll fix your
Amen.
camera.
Hey, look at
Hey,
that awesome
construction
logo
company.
right there. Rich Barker designed that logo, just so everybody knows. Yeah, man. Wasn't expecting that. Cool. So, construction company. We do custom home remodeling, and we did dibble and dabble a little bit in commercial work. So, on the up and up, been in business 5 years, ready to rock your home. I don't know. Stupid, right?
Aren't you working? Where you're working at Shelbyville now, right?
There we go.
We're all over the place, man. We got a project going in Shelbyville, a project in Westfield, 2 projects over in the either east side or near east side of Indy, and yeah,
He is back.
we got some stuff goings, man. Lots of cool stuff. We've been getting into some funner projects the last couple of years, that's for sure.
All right. So there you go. That's how you put Polypunk
That's right.
on the spot.
On the spot, bro.
Do if anybody out there wants to ask questions, they can.
Actually,
There's been a couple.
there
and we
has been
sort
a
of missed
couple.
them.
Well, we don't want to interrupt the stories.
Right.
Let's see. Katie, I think Katie chimed in.
Jeanette wants to know my favorite.
Oh,
Tina
Jeanette
Turner.
did. Yeah, your favorite Tina Turner song,
Flatbush.
Flatbush.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I know that one, but
I-
I think I know where it's going. Some good trimming. Oh, I hit the button.
Oh, yeah!
Yeah, there it is.
You know why pubic hairs are curly, right?
Tell me.
Otherwise, they poke your eyes out.
Oh, nice. Oh,
Thank goodness.
yeah.
Where's the beef?
Oh, that was inappropriate
No.
too. So Mindy Bay is wanting to talk about love handles. She's asking, did you talk about Danny's movie? I love that movie.
Well, it's funny because I mentioned to Shep today, this is LaPel, Indiana, and a big portion of Love Handles was filmed in LaPel. Most of the mainly the scenes where I'm like going to work and all that stuff and working on the construction crew and everything. There was a little home right around here by the railroad tracks near the silos that was Stick. My name was Stick in the movie. Is where he was my house. So yeah, it was fun. I did that back in 1994. Random thing. I had a band called Hot Rod Nebula that was had just formed actually, and we were playing at the Avenue, an old venue in Broad Ripple, and he was walking by and heard my band playing and came back and seen me in there performing. And at the time, I weighed about 600 pounds, and we're in there rocking away. And next thing I know, a few days later, I get I think it was a physical. Was it a letter? Did I get no? Because how would he have got my address? Anyway, he got a hold of me somehow, and maybe it was email. I'm not sure, but said I'm making a movie. I'd like to meet with you and talk about it. And I'm thinking, what the hell? This is bullshit, So anyway, I took a chance, met him, talked about it. He said, I've written this movie and I want you to be in it. And he laid out pretty much the synopsis of what the movie is. This big guy that from a small town is in love with this girl. Stranger comes to town, things go awry, that kind of a thing. And he said the movie was originally written for the guy for Stick to be a race car driver, because he wanted to tie the whole Indiana thing. He's from, grew up in Anderson, and he if you watch the movie, there's tons of Indiana references in it. And, but he decided after seeing me perform, he just wanted me to be in it. So he wanted to make it a musician. So that's what happened. So it was an interesting thing to do, looking back on it. There's a lot of the actors that are in it are not very good. and I will put myself in that box. It's like I'm not an actor. You know how it is. You go back and you wish. It's like listening to the first thing you ever recorded. You go back and think, oh man, I wish I could do that again. You know, so one of those kind of things. But it was fun. People seem to like it, and it's on YouTube. If you go to by the way, I have a YouTube channel. It's called Dr. Danny Roadkill. You can look that up on YouTube, and the movie is on there, so you can watch it. It's like 40 minutes long.
You said
Love Handles.
Dr. Danny Roadkill.
Dr. Danny.
Bam. Roadkill. Here you go, guys. There's your link.
Nice.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah,
Shep, I am so impressed with you
Thank
right
you.
now.
I can type. I'm so good at typing. So funny. They just recently made it to where now their links have the @ symbol.
Yeah.
So you have to put the @ in. It's a thing. You can check out our YouTube as well at What Are the Odds? We are Chopped Liver. Please follow us so we can get our numbers up.
That's where we need to be.
Danny was great. He's full of baloney.
Spell baloney wrong.
You had baloney for dinner? You're going to probably get hit with a charge of possession of baloney.
On the way home.
On the way home. Sir, have you been eating baloney?
Yes.
Maybe. Actually, Danny brought cookies, right?
I did.
Hell yeah.
I did. They're
Danny,
called
Is this
thank you
them
for
over
bringing
here?
cookies. Yeah.
I have been staring at these
Oh,
for
yeah.
like an hour.
Open them up. Go to town.
Yeah, let's have one.
I was gonna make.
Oh, look at this.
Turtle.
Oh, where am I at?
Turtle.
There we go. Turtle
cookies.
Turtle cookies.
When I first saw them, I was like, are those Buckeyes? Because, you know.
They do kind of look like Buckeyes.
Oh.
They also remind me of like little miniature pecan tea cookies that they used to make at Roslyn. I don't know if you remember that place.
I was
or not.
disappointed because there's no caramel in these. I don't think you should call
It's
them
turtle.
True.
There should be caramel in a turtle cookie.
Are you sure your taste buds are working right?
You tell me.
I'll go with you.
Look at me. I know what I'm talking about.
Katie's going to be so jealous. She's not here because she loves it when people bring food. Thank you.
So far away, Danny.
I got a whole box of them over here myself. I want some. So
That's good. Thank you so much.
I probably had a dozen of another box that I bought before I came.
Oh, those are so good. Better get
Mm-mm.
another one. Just
Mm-mm.
because.
Mm-mm. That's enough for me.
Okay. Well, I'm eating another one.
I'll wait till I'm off camera. At least I didn't like do what I did with the cupcake. Oh, actually, I have an idea. I'll take one more. You gotta like, what do you call that? Throw it out. See if I can catch it.
Don't waste it.
Skill. No, come on, man. It's the action, not the. Never mind. I was trying to be funny. It's not that even far. It's like 2 feet. You could have done it. I believe in you.
Oh, I don't want to try, but you're welcome to try on yourself.
Forget it. Gosh darn it. Oh man. Jeez, oh Pete's.
I mean, okay, yes, they don't have caramel. I
All right,
agree.
so,
it's not a turtle cookie,
To
but
everybody
it
at
is
home,
very delicious, regardless.
Yeah, they're nice.
Hell yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, they're not bad. They're like I'd never had them before, but they're like sort of similar to the Keebler shortbread cookies, the
Mhm.
fudge stripes. It's sort of because I think it's like a little shortbread
Yes.
with the fudge thing, but it's got the pecans on it. So
Let's do an actual shot. We'll do take a shot to everybody at home. If you're drinking, take
It's
a shot
always good
us.
with a cookie.
Yes. Sugar, followed by whiskey. By the way, tonight's show is brought to you by Benchmark. Old number 8 brand, Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. We're still trying to get packs of Aram. Jason, if you're watching, we love you. We gotta get a sponsorship going here. We'll start.
We're just gonna start asking you every week
show. Every show.
Hey,
until you
I may have a
answer.
hookup for you.
Oh yeah.
Dave McGee, his brother owns the place. Dave McGee is the bass player in Phyllis,
Mm.
and he's plays in the Hot Rod Nebula, and so I've known Dave quite a long time.
Okay.
We're talking about packs of Aram.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's three people total, right? I'm pretty sure Jason's one of them. I could be wrong. I could.
Chris McGee.
Chris McGee. Man, horrible with names. This is why I don't try to do that, but I did it. Fuck to that. But yeah, we would love to sponsor them. They're here in lapel with us, and we're doing this every week for the foreseeable future.
Right.
And we're also doing podcasts on Sunday as well. So it would be good to get a sponsor. And I'll tell you what, if we can get Pax Verum in, I'll stop drinking whiskey on the show and I'll just drink their beer. But if we do get them on board, that's the only beer we're going to drink on the show. So
Absolutely.
but I'll definitely be covering. They're doing this August. They're doing Beer Fest, August 19th. I'll be there the whole day. So probably won't be out at Punk Rock Night that night. I'll be checking that out. A bunch of local bands coming up. It's an all day event from like, I don't know. I'm sure 10 in the morning till probably 10 or 11 at night. So
David, I see your question. The movie clips Undestroyed. I think it was a group effort. I think everyone agreed on them, but I think Steve and BA were the spearheads behind which clips were picked for those. Like the little on Destroyed, there's a lot of little movie clip segments and things. Yeah. But I think Steve spearheaded it, but Steve and BA were the ones that kind of really chose what
movie is the I Want to Be Homosexual? What movie is that?
Female Trouble by John Waters.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is probably going to come as a huge surprise, but I've never seen it. So
it's any of his early films are just, they're like out there, but that's what makes them great. It's like, he does, because it's the same guy that did like Hairspray and Crybaby and stuff like that. But all the early ones, they're very avant-garde and they're just classic. Once you've seen them, you will never forget them.
Dave said, we love those clips as kids. It's how I found John Waters.
There you go.
Actually, recently, it was a few weeks ago, somebody said something to me because I thought that Spielberg's first film was Jaws, his like first directing job. And somebody corrected me. It might have been Matt when we had Wet Denim on. And then somebody posted about how Duel is like such an amazing movie and Steven Spielberg has done such a great job. And then it was kind of hit me again. I was like, shit, man, I still have not seen that movie. And the only way you can find it on a streaming platform is YouTube, and they make you pay for it.
Oh man.
Yeah. So
it's a great movie. Yeah. And it's one of Noah Mackey's favorite. Shout out to Noah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is good. I mean, you think it's boring, but it's not. It's like, it really keeps you on the edge of your seat.
I've never, I honestly, I don't think I've ever seen a bad Spielberg film. So I'm a huge fan, and it's crazy to me because like my probably, you know how it goes saying favorite, but growing up, one of my favorite films, because it's my mom's favorite film of all time, is Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And that was pretty much like the beginning of my love for Spielberg. And I always kind of joke, my mom moved out here probably 7 or 8 years ago, right down the street from here. So I ended up buying the house here. Sorry, everybody that comes on the podcast, but that's why we're in Lapel, because my mama lives like 6 minutes down the road.
My mom would be so jealous of your mom. Mine moved to Florida. My
dad was born in 1939. My mom's born in 49. They're getting old. And
yeah,
I just want to be.
So I didn't mean to interrupt your story.
Oh no. But that's why we're up here. Yeah. So, but one of the kind of neat things to reiterate and then get away from me talking, kind of neat, but I didn't realize it until I'd already signed off on it, buying the house. Close Encounters of the Third Kind is based out of where? Muncie, Indiana.
Yeah.
So I always like to say I ended up moving to UFO country because
yeah, Muncie's just right up the road.
The railroads, that iconic scene. It's not more than 10, 12 minutes from here, actually, because it was outside of Muncie where he was going to check that shit out or what the fuck ever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So we're gonna go ahead. Oh yeah, I clicked it and forgot. Living legend Danny Thompson. I love that man. I've been watching Danny play since I was 14 years old.
Oh
yeah,
was smart man.
Mr. Sloshler.
Great taste.
Slosh.
So
can't talk.
We Actually, goddamn, we are going to come back to the next portion of the show after a word from our sponsors at Punk Rock Night, because every Saturday night at the Melody Inn is Punk Rock Night.
It's Punk Rock Night.
And go.
Looking for something to do Saturday night? Do you like punk rock? Well, look no further. Every Saturday night is Punk Rock Night at the Melody Inn. The best local, regional, and touring acts hit the stage every Saturday for an amazing time. Check punkrocknight.com for details, or follow us on all the social medias to get weekly updates on what's going on. Doors are 8 p.m., shows start at 9 p.m. It's a bar, folks, so you have to be at least 21 to join in on the fun. And hey, there's free parking. Plus, every Thursday we present the Peer In Live feed show, where we talk about last week's show, preview this week's show, and announce all the big things we have coming up. Punk Rock Night, a proud sponsor of Chopped Liver.
And we're back. How was that commercial? Liver.
I love that. I love the whole commercial.
We're gonna
I
hit,
do have a favorite part of it.
we're gonna hit Bronson's sound.
Sex and songs.
Well, speaking of sex and songs,
We're gonna do a shot.
we're
I'll
gonna
take one with
We're
you.
gonna do shot. This is to Bronson because I know he's gonna be watching it.
Oh yeah, for sure. I was hoping he'd make it out today. There is a possibility at some point that Derek Frenchie Mays might walk through that door. He mentioned maybe come swinging by, but hopefully after this week, might be seeing Sid shot a little more. And then, of course, you know, Katie's almost always here. Since she joined the team, she's missed 2 shows, which is
That's a pretty good record.
Admirable.
Yes.
I've missed so many. Anyways, so all right, diving deep into these questions here, and so typically this show is based on 4 things, and we won't get to the last one until we absolutely have to, because we usually lose.
Don't even
viewers.
mention it.
Well,
say
no, we gotta go there. But drugs,
say it right
sex,
now.
rock and roll, and paranormal. Have you ever pulled a Jimi Hendrix? You ever, taken a hallucinogenic on stage or anything along those lines?
You know, I have not. I mean, I did take a hallucinogenic though, but it would surprise you to know I've only tried pot twice in my life.
I've never done it.
The one time was it always goes back to a girl. One time there was a girl that I wanted to get with, and back in the early days, I mean, shit, I was a virgin until I was 24, and then I ended up marrying that girl. So, she, I had Bo from Sloppy. He had a connection to get pot, so I had him get me a 1/4 ounce of pot. And back then it was like $20. You know, it wasn't nothing. I don't know how much it is these days, but back then it was $20. And I had him roll it into joints. So I tempted her with it, but I thought before I do that, I should try it. So Bo was showing me how to do the pot, and I took one drag and started choking my ass off. And what it reminded me of was the most burnt marshmallow you've ever had in your life without the sweet.
Right.
It just coated my whole
Stuck.
mouth.
Yeah.
And so that was what I remembered of it. Fast forward to about, maybe 15 years ago. There was a girl that shall remain nameless, was wanting me to get high with her and her friends at this establishment in town. And I would not do it. I said, I'm not doing it. I don't smoke pot. I'm not taking any. And she said, come on, just try it. Just do it. Just one time. Just do it. And I said, no.
Everybody else is doing it.
Yeah. So she kept wanting me to. And I went. So finally I said, I tell you what, if you show me your bush, I will do it.
What?
So I did it.
Hey!
So, well, the thing was, I took the hit, and then she didn't think about it. Well, then I was her ride home, her and another guy that I was taking home. And so before she gets out of the car, I said, you owe me something. And she goes, what? And she goes, are you really going to make me do it? I went, you made me do it. So I got a peek before she got out of the car. So there's that. But when I guess I would have been about 18 or 19. Do you guys know Rapper from back in the day, Raw Meat? Those guys. This is old school punk stuff. You know, this is the stuff like Bill Levin and JJ, and those guys will know Rapper. He used to work at a place called Cosmos Pizza, which is that was one of the first punk places around in town. Zero Boys, famous for playing there back in the day. This girl had broke my heart. Back to a girl. And I went to him and told him, I said, I don't want any pot or anything, but do you have any pills or anything like that I could buy? I didn't even know what I was fucking looking for. And he said, well, I've got some acid. I said, okay. I said, I'll take that. I said, I've got $6. What'll that get me? He said, I'll get you 3 tabs. I said, okay.
That's good. That's
so, so he gives me those 3 tabs. I do not know how to take them. So I asked him how. He says, you just put it on your tongue, just kind of let it sit there a minute. It'll get kind of rubbery. Just kind of chew it up and swallow it. I said, okay. So he didn't tell me I should take them one at a time. I took all 3. I was fucked up for 3 days. By the 3rd day, I told my best friend at the time, I said, if I'm not better by tomorrow, I'm going to the hospital and I'm going to say, look, you put me in jail, arrest me, do whatever you need to do. But I took some acid and I'm fucked up and I need help. Luckily, by the 3rd day, I had come down. But yeah, I have not taken it since. I realized I took too much. But
what a wild
I just
first time though.
Do you remember who you got that from? I need my pen.
That
was a good deal, man. That's a good deal.
But
remember you still get
I mean, this would have had to been like 1986, 85, 86. I mean, it's a long time ago. But yeah, so I have pulled a Jimi Hendrix.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, for 3 days.
That's awesome.
Well,
man.
But that's it. That's the only experiences I've ever had with drugs. Alcohol has been my drug of choice. So.
And just just in case we have any kids watching, acid is actually LSD. Just to make that clear. God, I hope there's no fucking kids watching this show.
Oh, me too.
There's a reason why it says mature audience at the top of every show that we do now. So because it gets pretty out of hand sometimes. But yeah, I started doing that because eventually it's gonna catch up with us,
Yes.
So
yes.
Although YouTube, we've got everything squared away there. We'll never have to face any dramatics from our conversations. But Meta, on the other hand, they are sticklers. So, but so 3 days. That's crazy, man. So much for the afterglow, huh?
Yeah, it was.
Holy shit!
It was enough to. One of the things I remember, 2 things I remember from that experience was at one point I threw up and watched my puke crawl away. Another time I was like on the 2nd day, I think. The way I was checking to see if I was still fucked up was I would put my hand on I had paneling in my room, and it was the grain kind. I would put my hand on it, and if my hand was breathing with the paneling, I knew I was still fucked up.
Hell yeah.
And it was around Christmas time. And I remember I went to a friend's house that I knew a lot about drugs and told him what I'd done. And he just happened to be having a fucking party that night. So awesome. But I went on a beer run with him, and there were Christmas wreaths on doors and stuff. And I kept thinking they were skulls and crossbones. And I remember the next morning, I stayed up all night I stayed up all 3 days. I was watching Bugs Bunny cartoons the next morning, and every time the Roadrunner would take off running, the smoke would trail off the screen, and Bugs Bunny's ears were sticking up over the TV set, and it was fucking.
Oh, it's dope.
It was crazy, And so nothing crazy happened, like I didn't freak out.
I think those visuals are pretty fucking wild.
Well, yeah, it was. But I mean, for me, especially, I was like, I thought I was broken. I didn't think I was going to be all right again. So yeah, my only experience.
Right on.
I mean, that's like I said, that would be a pretty impressive first experience.
Absolutely.
I always enjoyed it when I'd lose my numbers and letters and stuff, like all of a sudden you try to like check the time or something and you just can't,
no way.
Yeah,
like, that's how it historically, that's like how I check to see because for me personally, everybody's different, but LSD, it comes in waves for me. So like I'll be good for, I'm still having some vision, but for the most part, it's like, I'm good. And then I feel it coming up, that wave comes in. I'm like, okay, chill, focus, and enjoy the ride. But the way I check is like, if you have a cell phone, well, like I said, everybody's different, everybody's a little different. But for me, if I pull up my cell phone and it's all kinds of crazy, like it's like doing waves and all that stuff, I'm like, all right, I'm still in the land. Like, cool. I know where I'm at. But
Well, yeah, right.
it just, I guess it really
Yeah.
depends on how much you take and how pungent it is or whatnot. But I don't know, man. Like, it's for sure, like, I can't wait because right now, culturally speaking, microdosing is like big, like especially with like shrooms. It's like such a big thing right now. Whatever, but I'd like to see eventually, like, the travels into LSD being a microdose, because for me personally, it's like a cleansing for me. Like, I don't know how it kind of pulls me back in. You know what I mean? It, like, I don't know how to explain it, but I just feel a little more free after I do it. So, and that's the thing also, like, I've never actually done a drug outside of pot, which isn't really a drug, but I've never done a drug without the mindset of the experience. I want to experience something. Or, like, I don't take it because everybody's getting fucked up. Fucking get fucked up, whatever. I've always wanted to do it or done it for the purpose of the experience. So, but I would love to see LSD head in that direction where it's more like a microdosing, and it's not about getting fucked up, but more of like, I don't know. But most people I know actually prefer shrooms over LSD. It's because, shrooms is natural, where LSD is a chemical. That's made in a lab, blah, blah, blah. But whatnot, or made in somebody's kitchen. I don't fucking know. But yeah. So that's awesome though, man. Like, just, especially you're talking about the Roadrunner and the ears coming out the screen and the
I remember when I was driving too, that it was at nighttime and the lights were it was like just streaming. And I felt like I was going so slow. And I looked down and I was doing 85.
Oh,
and I'm like, oh man.
that's very adventurous of you to take off and drive.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I got them from Rapper, and as soon as I got them, I took them.
Right.
So
oh yeah.
driving,
that makes sense. Yeah.
Anyway, so it was, once I realized that something stupid was going on is when I searched out for help. I was like, uh-oh, I need someone with experience to help me through this.
Yeah, I think the longest I've ever, with checking and seeing if I'm still there, about 24 hours. And that was too many hits. And I ended up driving home from that show. I pulled a Jimmy. I actually did it before I went on stage, and I played the set. Thankfully, that was recorded. And it's a thing. But yeah, I drove on it, and fortunately I had people with me, but I drove like a champ, whatever. But so outside of LSD and pot, is pretty much right on.
Just booze.
The booze, yeah.
Good BA story. One time we were playing, Bill Levin used to do these Mondos at the Vogue, and we were playing one of those. It was one of the early shows too. Like, Sloppy hadn't been around that long. I don't think Destroyed was out yet. And BA had a cold, but he was drinking like crazy, but he was also drinking NyQuil like crazy. And he literally just like pretty much passed out during the set, like while we were playing.
Nice.
He was just, he was still conscious, but there was nothing. It was just like he was just gone. So yeah, that was one of the lesser good shows that we ever played.
Man, I've met BA a few times. I've seen him play a few times. I'll tell you though, like his voice, like his singing voice, is remarkable and unmistakable.
It's extremely unique. That again, it's one of those things that I've come to appreciate after the fact. It's like in the beginning, here I am coming from a background where I want to be a singer, and I'm hooking up with these guys and hearing BA sing these songs, and I'm thinking, what the fuck? This is, no one's going to give a shit about this stuff, you know. Totally, like I said, came at it with the wrong attitude. And but now, after I've, you know, when I left the band and started doing things where I was performing some of those songs, they are not easy to sing. He has a unique range and voice, and it's hard to sing some of those songs in those keys.
You know,
I don't know how he, you know, maintains a whole evening at that intenseness, you know. So I give him props. But BA is like I said it earlier. He went to college. He's got a bachelor's degree in journalism, so he wanted to be a writer, and that's evident in his songs.
Absolutely.
You know, he's right. They are some of the most clever lyrics that I think I've ever came across ever. Like, he knows the way to turn a phrase, you know?
Absolutely. Hell yeah. I would say of all the bands over the years that I've seen live, the closest that I've ever heard somebody come to like his style of singing and his voice is Craig Scuzz from Target Acquired.
Mm.
Totally reminds me of BA.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you close your eyes and you listen to their music, or if you see them live, you can kind of hear it. But yeah, shout out to BA, man. Like, his voice is indistinguishable. Indistinguishable.
There you
Wow. But so yeah, man, yeah, that's awesome, those experiences that you had. So we like to travel. Yeah, back into drugs, right back into it. It's a party, man. It's not a podcast, right?
I'm having more cookies because this is a hell of a party we're having.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a party. But normally, yeah, we do usually have a couple more people in studio, but we're whatever. We're having fun. But
I'm having a blast,
Who needs
bro.
them?
All
Who needs them?
right, let me get one. Fuck it, cookies, man. Thank you again, Danny, for bringing cookies.
Yeah, yeah.
Fucking dope. So have you ever had any crazy encounters with roadies or anything over your time?
You know, when we would go out on the road, Steve was the biggest slut in the band, and I can't count to how many girls he was with. But,
Zippers he went through.
Yeah, but he was kind of the one that always, you know, he wasn't afraid. And I was still, like I said, man, I was a virgin until I was 24, and so I was always a little shy about approaching girls and stuff. And but I tell you who wasn't shy. I, at least once on every tour, I would be approached by a man. And I don't know why. I never felt that I was giving the vibe that, you know, I was gay or anything, but I probably had, during tours with Sloppy, at least one tour, a guy would always come up and approach me, and I would very politely tell him, man, I'm not into guys, you know, so, and they were always really cool about it. Oh, okay, well, that's fine. Well, can I buy you a drink anyway?
Hey,
and I'm like,
you know,
oh yeah, you can buy me all
you
the
might
drinks
as well
want.
accept that as a compliment. Then,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, absolutely.
Fuck
I was flattered by it,
Yeah.
you know, so,
Mhm.
but no, I never really had any good roadie girl stories. But Steve used to like to tease me. Sometimes I remember one time in New Jersey, we was playing somewhere, and there was this girl that was being the total backstage girl.
Living, loving maid.
Yeah, Steve was like, playing with her titties and kept making her show me her tits and stuff like that, which was embarrassing the shit out of me. You know, I'm like, rather than being the cool rock star guy going, yeah, let me see them titties, baby. You know, I was like, oh, yeah, oh, no, yeah, those are nice. That's a good nipple there. Oh, yeah. You know, so, but
I'm pretty sure I've seen that character when I was growing up on Looney Tunes.
Probably did.
Did you get that reference, by the way, the Living, Loving Maid?
Yeah, I did.
Nice.
I did.
Do you know they never played that song live?
I did not know
Jimmy
that.
Page hates that fucking song.
Oh, wow.
Even though, like, back in the day, like, all the radio people would play Whole Lot of Love and go right into that song. He just refused to play. He hated it. Probably PTSD, I would assume, from just the nature of why the song was written. So it was written about,
Absolutely.
roadies. Crazy roadies.
Yeah.
Is there, man, I gotta ask, is there any like crazy ass stories, like things that went just wild that has happened over the years? Obviously not just Sloppy Seconds, man. I mean, you've been working your ass off for so long in so many bands.
You know, nothing super crazy. Not really. I mean, nothing that wasn't uncontrollable. One time we opened for Fugazi,
Hell
at
yeah.
I believe it was the Ritz, and this was back in the day, and a big, huge was that the Fugazi show or was it the Mentors? That was Fugazi. The Mentors was good too, but Fugazi.
I'm like slightly
there was
geeking out.
there was a big fucking fight started at the Fugazi show, and I mean like a crazy fucking fight. And I just remember them being on stage trying to get people to calm down, and no one was really paying attention to the band anymore because the fight was going on.
Oh yeah.
The Bill Levin, if you can get him in here, he's the one that brought the Mentors to town.
Mhm.
Bill's been on the show before.
Oh,
He
has
has,
he? Oh,
yeah.
has he told the Mentor stories?
No,
No,
I don't think so.
When
Just-
he, when
yeah.
he comes
Yeah.
back,
That was a long time ago.
he's in church right now.
he
oh yeah.
yeah,
right.
he needs to tell you the Mentor stories.
I'm-
Those are
I'm pretty sure we have him for June 4th, but I got to check back in with him. Hopefully we're going to have him here on Sunday, June 4th. But that would be, yeah, that's a good one to bring up for sure.
yeah, he can tell you some great Mentor stories. Those guys, man, El Duce, that guy. I'm not surprised he got hit by a train. It's like, anyway, but yeah, not really. Nothing.
What's up, Derek?
Hey. I can't think of sadly.
Yes. All right. This is working out great, man.
I'm good, thank you. No, I'm fine.
Oh, no, thank you.
Oh,
I appreciate that. You know me, I don't drink beer, man. I'll start drinking beer if Pax Barron hooks us up. I'm gonna keep talking about him until they like give it.
cheers, man.
So
So sadly, I'm sorry not to have more exciting stories
Oh.
for you, but it's not an exciting story. But I used to love when we would tour with Toxic Reasons. JJ could sleep anywhere, anytime.
hell
And
yeah.
I used to have an old Chevy van that that was
Right.
completely it was like an old cargo van, so the only windows were the front and the rear. And he would one time we were driving and we thought we had left JJ somewhere because some of the guys would ride in our van, some would ride in Toxic's van, so we thought we'd lost JJ. Come to find out, there's when you open the side door to the van, there's like this little bitty space, like the step up, it's like just barely wide. JJ was on his side sleeping in that. And so not a wild story, but it's just he would sleep. We just had assumed we'd left him behind, so we were like ready to turn around and go get him when we discover he's sleeping in the crevice of the door of the van.
That's
Wow.
crazy. I'm actually low key, like, don't tell everybody, but I'm pretty much the same way. That is from honestly years and years of fishing. And I would legit like pass out on the lake, just sitting on the side of a lake, just fall asleep while I'm catfishing. But yeah, I can pretty much sleep out anywhere. I can fall asleep really fast, but that comes with training. You got to know how to do it.
Now, BA is probably, if you could ever get him on here, I'm sure he's got a billion crazy stories. I know he was at one party, it's mentioned we was on tour with Toxic Reasons, and there was a party that JJ, those guys knew everybody in every town. Sloppy. Toxic Reasons. JJ had a little book and of everybody that they knew in all the different towns. And we went to a party one time, and it was this crazy ass party, but BA kept like drank so much he was passing out. And this girl came up to him with a lighter and was clicking it in his face and said, "Hey dude, if you fall asleep, we're setting your hair on fire." I'm sure he's got a few good stories for you, but
I would love it for us to get BA here. I just honestly I'm not sure how to even get a hold of him. So
I'm sure if you send him a Facebook message.
yeah, that's probably what I'll do. Tab. Yeah, we're gonna set up a camera real quick. Yeah, shit, man. But yeah, I would love to have him on here for sure. Yeah. I don't even know if I'm friends with him on Facebook, but I know he's got a show come up. Maybe I hit up JJ and be like, "Can you get me in contact with fucking BA?" I don't fucking know. I don't even know. I don't know. But yeah, I'm one of those people too, Danny. I could definitely pretty much fall asleep just about anywhere. So
Well, you and JJ will have a lot in common.
hell yeah. Did you already connect it?
No, no.
Oh, yeah, I got you.
Should have done it already, but
Sorry, Danny.
Oh, no problem.
Dude, I saw you were coming and I was like, I have to come down here and pick your brain for a little bit. Like,
Sure.
that's like the thing. It's funny you guys are talking about BA. I literally just saw him the other day up in Logansport. They did that big show up.
Oh yeah, he went and sang some of the Ramones.
Yeah,
songs,
Ramones Bash. It was
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Nice.
Lots of cool bands and stuff like that. I'm a
Oh,
huge Putz fan.
That
so-
was up in
Yeah.
Logansport, right?
Yeah, those guys are often. We was it one of my bands did a show with them at the Mill.
Yeah.
I was impressed by them. This
Yeah.
is like a few years ago. They were just starting.
Just
out.
refreshing.
They're really good.
It's like and then the Don't Want Us were also playing.
Hell
there.
yeah.
That's like Chris Huntley and Shane.
Mhm.
Like that's a really cool one too. Like if you're into that pop punky thing. But in all honesty, like I'm here right now to talk to you about like rockabilly stuff because that's like my jam.
Yeah,
I
we
was
got the
I was
rockabillys in the
nervous.
house.
Was I nervous last time I was on here? Look at me, man. I'm like literally shaking now. I'm fangirling like a motherfucker over here. Yeah, that's crazy.
You missed some stories about Seltzer and
Hey, I was listening to
I got you. Let me get that real quick.
Oh, you're good, man. I was listening to the podcast all the way here. I've had like a sinus infection, so I was like, I'm gonna take a shower and see how everything goes and stuff. And like, I've been feeling way better. So I got out of the shower and I was like, I'm going down there. I gotta go see this guy. Yeah, I still have that acoustic that I bought off of you. That's my travel guitar, man. I take it everywhere.
You bought that from Danny?
Yeah, that
No,
my
not
I had no
Not the one- not the
idea.
one I'm selling right now.
no,
No.
The
I just know
my
his
little
guitar.
My
like,
little black grass that I carry with me everywhere. That's the one. I bought it off of Danny.
I've played him many songs
Yeah.
drunkenly on the guitar.
A lot of people have played many drunken songs on that guitar.
Good. It served its purpose.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll get you somewhere height there.
Yeah, I got you, bro.
there you go.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing it. Yay, team. Yeah, dude, you have to
Excellent,
give me
man.
the story on Hot Rod Nebula. Like, from how did that come about? Like,
That was the first band I had after Sloppy,
right?
and I just put an ad out. Back the way you did it in the old days, put an ad in Nuvo, or you
Right.
stuck it on the music store.
Ask around a
corkboard, you know?
lot.
And I had this guy named Travis Brandt, who to this day I still do gigs with. We do the little duo thing around town. He was
Yeah.
at the time he was only 19,
Right.
and I thought he was going to be this kid. I don't want this kid playing drums, and he turned out being badass.
Yeah, for sure.
But we started doing gigs at the Melody Inn. This would have been 1994. I
Right on.
guess.
Yeah.
Is that right?
That's
Yeah.
it's
And-
insane to think that it's been around that long. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
Like,
And we were like the house band there. We'd play there every Friday night for at least a year.
right.
And so that's kind of how it got started. And that was before we did any originals. It was just cover stuff. you know?
Right. And then after that, did it immediately go into Bigger Than Elvis and your like the projects that you've had more recently?
Yeah, Bigger Than Elvis. The way Bigger Than Elvis came about was there's a guy named Hannes Korber who was in a band called KGB from Germany.
Yeah.
And he when Sloppy had toured with Toxic Reasons, we did some tours with KGB as well. So the three of us went around.
Do each other.
Anyway, he was doing an album. This would have been about 90. Oh, I'm so horrible with dates. This would have been about 95,
Okay.
96.
So relatively close to Hot Rod Nebula
Yeah.
kind of thing.
And he came and recorded an album here and got a bunch of his friends to play on it, including me and the Toxic guys and stuff.
That's awesome.
And he took it back to Germany. A record label said they would put it out and they would support a tour.
Sorry, we're destroying stuff over here, man. All I wanted to do was talk to Danny Thompson, Shep.
Said they would support a tour if the band that played on the album would come over and tour.
Hell yeah.
So
So you got like the musician's dream of like, we're gonna play you or we're gonna pay you to do the thing.
yeah.
That's-
So we went to Germany and it was me, Tufty, Mark Cutzinger, and Eric Grimmett, I don't know
Which
if
is
you
a
know
hell
Eric.
of a band, by the
Yeah,
way,
yeah,
I might say.
Shout out to Eric Grimmett, another guy I grew up with, basically. So we went there. Hannes obviously was a singer, and we toured Germany for a month.
That's awesome.
And yeah, it was fantastic.
And they were really into rockabilly, psychobilly kind of music at the time.
They
too.
were, but KGB didn't do that. It was more just standard punk music,
Right.
stuff, But while we were there, we had a couple of days off in Tübingen, and rather than just sitting on our ass, this Tübingen. It was like this sort of squatter's place, and it was like 3 stories. Well, downstairs there was a little bar called the Blue Saloon, and Tufty asked the guy there if we could. He said, "Hey, would you care if our band played here?" And the guy was like, "No punk rock." And Tufty's like, "Hey," he goes, "Danny, you know a bunch of those like Elvis things, right?"
Hell yeah.
And I said, "Yeah." He says, "Hey, why don't we do a bunch of that stuff?" And I said, "Okay." So we told the guy, "No, we'll do some cool American music."
Right.
So we go upstairs, literally for about an hour. I write out a set list of about 25 songs. We do a little bit of each song upstairs. We come back downstairs and play.
No
and
practice, just balls to the
and
walls.
the guy wanted to know the name of the band, and we didn't have a name at the time, so we called ourselves the Munchausen Cats. And
It's a great on the spot band name, I
Yeah.
guess.
so we play, and the guy loves it. Tomorrow, you come tomorrow.
Nice.
So we didn't have nothing to do, so we came back the next night,
Right.
and the place was wall to wall. I mean, it was a tiny place, maybe as big as this garage, and it was wall to wall people getting in there. We were like, shoulder to shoulder trying to get into the stage, and the stage was just a little bitty thing in the corner. And I've got a photo on my Facebook page from it too. So technically the first Bigger Than Elvis gig.
That's awesome.
And it was filled with all these punks with the mohawks and everything. And they had their dogs with them, and one thing that sticks out in my head as I was doing Stand By Me, darling, darling, stand by me. You see all these punks swaying back and forth,
Aw.
singing along to the
That's
choruses,
so awesome.
but that was the birth of Bigger Than Elvis.
Right.
We come back home. Mark Cutsinger's in a band called
Really quick, while you guys were standing up there on stage in Germany and you did that, did you guys like look around at each other and be like, holy shit, we can do this? Did you have like a moment?
No, actually, no. We were
Really?
just having fun.
That's
we
that's
were just,
awesome.
We were just having a good time. And so when we get back, Mark was in Transportation. I believe was the name of the band Mark was in. They were doing a New Year's Eve gig at Zany's.
Okay.
And they needed a band to open. So Mark said, "Hey, why don't we do that Elvis-y stuff that we did in Germany?" So we were all like, "Okay, that's cool." So we did it. Same band, same lineup.
Right.
We did that. Well, the guy at Zany's walks up to Tufty and says, "Hey, I'll give you $400 to do this every week." And so we all agreed.
That's a
to
deal.
It. And we said, "Okay, we'll do it." So it was like lingerie show Bigger Than Elvis. It was like on a Thursday night.
Nice.
and that's when Tufty come up with the name Bigger Than Elvis. Obviously, it was a double entendre. One, Bigger Than Elvis,
Right.
and the other was just rockabilly in general.
Yeah.
Is bigger than just Elvis.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we and that's how it started. Well, Eric Grimmett, he didn't think it was his bag. He said, "Man, I don't know if I want to do it." So that's how we got Tom Woodard to start playing with
Fair
us.
enough. Which I
And-
mean, that's a fair swap out.
Oh
too.
yeah, and I
Like,
didn't know Tom that well at the time. When he joined the band, I knew
Right.
of him, and I obviously knew about him, but we never really interacted a lot.
Dude.
And so Tom joined the band, and then that was the beginning of Bigger Than Elvis.
That's awesome.
Hell yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a crazy band too, guys. Like I don't know if you've ever seen the music level of musicianship that they have when they do that
Absolutely.
stuff. It is insane. Like
It was a good time.
it takes a pretty impressive band to like. I like it when the music washes over my soul. You have that thing, like Bigger Than Elvis has that thing. And like I remember we played with you with MG once,
Mhm.
and you guys just destroyed it. And for a while there, we were, kind of hot, getting it. We were like, we'd come off stage and be like, yeah, follow that. And then we played with you guys, and it was like, oh damn, like that's gonna be a really hard act to follow. It was a good time though. Like I always enjoyed
Always
seeing
a
you
good
guys
time.
play.
Thank you. Yeah, it was always fun.
Right. And then what do you do now? Are you just like hanging out? I know you do some acoustic sets still, right?
I started playing guitar with the Roundups.
Okay.
Honky Tonk Band.
Yeah.
Is around town. The Roundups in some form or another have probably been around for 25 years. But I'm playing with those guys, and me and Travis, who originally played in Hot Rod Nebula.
Yeah.
Me and him, we do a duo thing.
That's right.
And I don't. Other than that, it's like when Bigger Than Elvis broke up, and that all happened around the COVID time. I don't know. I just kind of got to a point where I'm not tired of music, but you get tired of the bullshit,
Yeah.
and you can't deny there's always bullshit.
Absolutely.
And I was I'm
Feel
still,
triggered over here.
yeah. And it's like I'm
Chef, what are you talking about? I am your bullshit, man.
you know, and I'm on the cusp of 60 years old, and then I'm
Right.
just thinking, and then I meet, you missed the romantic story, but I met Sandy, and with her, and life just kind of had a whole different direction for me.
Yeah.
And I will always be involved in music, but I'm just don't want to deal with the bullshit anymore.
Yeah.
So I only want to do things that I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
Amen.
And
Well, I mean, isn't that exactly what you just described about how Bigger Than Elvis started? It was
Yeah.
just you doing exactly what you loved.
that's exactly right. And that's what I loved about Bigger Than Elvis is, and even the things, well, my whole career of music, if you want to call it that, has been doing things that I want to do. I've never once performed something I didn't enjoy doing.
That's some like words of wisdom for any musician that's listening right now. Like for real.
Yeah, I agree with
I
that.
feel like you just peered into my soul.
and so and I've never backed down from that. It's like even now I have my times when me and Travis are doing our little duo thing, and someone will come up, and sure enough they'll ask for James Taylor or Brown Eyed Girl or something like
Right.
that, and I just look them square in the eye and go, we don't do that shit.
Hell yeah, man.
What about Ace of Base?
And no, never have.
Damn.
He just looked you in the eye and said,
Nah,
we don't do that shit.
Nah. Hey, real quick, Derek, will you pull your mic down about 6 inches and then point it at your mouth?
I gotta mess with this cable. Ugh. We'll get there.
That arm, yeah, right there.
Technical difficulties.
You're almost there. You're good. You got it. I just don't want your beautiful face to be blocked. Also, the sound engineer in
My
me
beautiful face.
wants that perfect sound.
Can you hear me now?
Oh yeah,
All right.
beautiful. Thank you.
Getting there. Oh, maybe. Yeah, we're good.
Right, yeah, just under and pointing directly at the mouth.
Oh,
Oh yeah!
I had to do it.
now I'm all hung
Been
up.
hooked.
All right.
Under. All right, whatever.
That's
Anyways,
close enough.
sorry to interrupt you, Danny.
No, that's fine.
You don't need to see my beautiful face anyway. I've covered it up with all this hair.
So yeah, so that's kind of that's where that happened.
That's good stuff, man. That's good stuff. I think one of my favorite memories of ever seeing this guy was Lisa and I went out to a pub. I don't remember what it was, and you were doing a solo acoustic act in there, and I was just like mind blown. I was like, oh, thank the Lord, I'm going to have some music that I actually know to listen to. And everybody in there was just like completely hanging out, not really paying attention or anything like that. And I was like blown away. I was like, do you know who this is? That's Danny motherfucking
Yeah.
Thompson. That's
Homie,
Dr. Roadkill right there.
I'll tell you what. The first time I met you, it was the Danny Thompson Deluxe or whatnot, and I sat down and I talked to you, and I honestly like ignorance is bliss, and I didn't, I just didn't know, but
Yeah.
and I was like, man, super cool guy, and then eventually I found out that you were in all these, bands and whatnot. And then Humble Pie kept getting delivered. I cannot tell you. I mean, at least 3 or 4 times somebody's been like, "Is that Roadkill? Is that Danny Roadkill?" I'm like, "Yes, it is." And they're like, "Can you introduce me?" I'm like, "Absolutely," And it's just,
Well,
we are so lucky here in Indianapolis in our market or our scene to have you.
I appreciate
and to have your
Yes.
awesome music available to us and to be able to see you live and hang out with you. And
Well,
get
not
talk
to mention
you.
you're not a dick.
No,
Like,
he's not.
thanks for not
He's
being a
fucking
dick.
sweetheart.
Well, that's funny because speaking of the involuntaries, Damon, we were talking one time. and
Love you,
he's-
Damon.
He
Yeah.
said the first time he met me, he thought I was an asshole.
Oh wow.
And I was shocked to hear
I'm,
that because
I'm shocked. Yeah.
I understand that. Like I'm not as much of a social butterfly as a lot of other guys are, So sometimes I do kind of keep myself and keep quiet, and and I could see how that could make you seem unapproachable. But I guess apparently we were opening for them, or they opened for us, or something at a PRN gig, and someone spilled beer on my pedals or something, and I guess I got a little shitty about it.
I could understand
You know,
why.
and but even that still didn't really sound like me. I'm typically pretty laxed about that stuff. So I it must have been something pretty aggressive.
Yeah, I mean,
But he said, and then you turned out to be the coolest guy I'd ever met.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Which
so,
makes
you
a
know,
lot more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, I appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. It's humbling. You know, I just try to be, you know, as courteous to people as I can, because you know that good old golden rule, you know, and it's
Right.
like, you know, why be a dick to somebody when you don't have to?
I mean, my first impression of you, I super approachable. I was just
Mhm.
like, great set, man, and just started talking to you. Actually, I could probably find it, but man, it would take some work. But the first time I have a picture of me and you, the first time that I'd met you was before I worked for PRN.
I think I remember it. I think
I'm wearing my blue flannel.
You either helped me carry shit out to my car, or you caught me as I was carrying shit out to my car.
Yeah.
That's what happened. Yeah.
It was a long time ago. But yeah, and then I just you're an awesome guy, man.
Well, thank
You
you.
know, like I said, sweetheart. You're nice to everybody. You're a super cool dude, and thank you for fucking coming out all the way out to LaBelle, man. Hell
That's
yeah.
all right, man.
It's good
I
times.
wish
So
it had
fucking
either been a
cool.
little earlier or a little later, but hey, you know, I just zen time in the car during
Yeah.
traffic. You know,
That time though, the kind of like what everybody just experienced with setting up that camera, like it is what it is, but
We made it.
having that little bit of time to get everything ready and make sure everything's square. It's good. It's good. So, but thank you so much for making the drive out here and hooking us up with cookies.
Yeah. No problem, man. My pleasure.
Right.
Hell yeah. Derek, would you like a shot?
No, dude, I'm not drinking whiskey.
No whiskey. All
No,
right.
no whiskey for me tonight.
Fair enough. Paulie, are you good?
Yeah. I'm gonna stick with my beer now.
Oh yeah, you got the Miller. It's Miller time.
Champagne of beers.
Champagne.
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 That's the thing. I will be honest. The first time I ever met you, I think it was Sherry that introduced us, and I was like fresh into the scene here in Indianapolis, and I was coming from like the Seattle Tacoma area, and I went from being like this mediocre guitarist at best, in that scene, to coming here and being like, okay, pretty decent, not a standout or anything like that. And I remember picking your brain one night after a show, and you were just like, I think I was asking you about amps. I think you were running the
basement problem.
Yeah, I think you were running the basement at the time, and I had a modified Hot Rod Deluxe, and you really had like this tone that I was going for. Dude, I think you sat and talked to me for like 45 minutes, and you really didn't even have to do that. And it just like that's something that will always stick with me, is like that. Yeah, we're willing to do that. So now, whenever somebody comes up to me and is like, "Hey, man, I really like your tone," dude, I'll sit and talk to him for hours because I know what it means.
Good.
Now, like, I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
I'm glad I wasn't a dick.
Yeah, I know, right? I definitely have had my shots at being a dick. So like, I'll take that one from you too, man.
I wish you brought that guitar, man.
I almost did.
Should've brought
It's sitting on
it.
my bed right now. I was like, should I bring the guitar? Should I not
Have
bring the
Danny-
guitar? No,
have-
I'm not going to
have Danny
fangirl
rock
that
out a
bad. Yeah, I never did figure out how to get it to stay in tune though. It's still every time every time the weather changes. It's got a bone nut now. It's got a bone saddle now. And they're all polished and stuff. And then did some locking tuners and stuff like that. And it's just every time the weather changes, it'll stay in tune for pretty well for a long time. But then as soon as the weather changes, you put it in the car, take it somewhere else. It's like
That's a common thing with parlor guitars.
Yeah.
Because of
Mhm.
their size.
yeah,
They don't have the reinforcement to
yeah.
fight that stuff.
I love it. It's electric now.
Can I say a
nice.
bad
Yeah.
joke? Can I say a bad joke just real quick?
Yeah.
Have you tried switching guitar string brands?
I play Ernie Balls, bro.
No.
That's what I play, dude.
There's like three.
It's the best. You can't go wrong with Ernie Balls. I'm just saying, man.
That's what I used to.
You see this hat? This is an Ernie Ball hat.
See. See if I can whip out a pack.
I've used them. God, going on as far as I can remember. I tried Diodarios one time and I kept breaking Diodarios.
Really?
And I went to the Ernie Balls and
Dude, I never break strings.
I knew. Well, one thing I do that I
Fucking Paulie and I looked at each other.
one thing
Nice.
that I do is before with my electric guitars anyway, I always change strings before a gig.
Mhm.
And I know so many guys that are like Tom Woodard. I love you, Tom, but he will not change a string on his guitar until he absolutely has to.
Right.
And I am just the opposite. To me, it's worth $4 or $5 for that set of strings to make sure
Do you do
know.
fresh strings on even Bigsby guitars? Like, because I'll leave my Bigsby strings on.
If I had one, I would.
Really?
But I don't. I haven't had a Bigsby guitar in forever.
Really?
Yeah, last time I owned a Gretsch was, man, had to been in the late. Me personally owning a Bigsby. I think the last time was during we were recording "Knock Your Block Off." I had a one of the reissue Gretsch 6120s that I played regularly. I had a couple since then, but not that I really played out.
Right. Fair enough.
Yeah.
You've always been more of a Telecaster guy, right?
Yeah, it's always just felt like going home to me.
Yeah, for sure. I'm a Les Paul dude. Everything feels cool when I'm playing it and I love it, but when you go back home, it's like that's where you're supposed to be.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's why. You know.
Would you, Danny? Would you say that your favorite guitar of all time is that guitar you were telling us about when you the one you bought when you were 16?
Yeah, I'd have to. I mean, that's the one that I would never. I actually at one point I did sell it. Believe it or not, I know. Then the reason
you got it back.
and I got it back.
You are so lucky.
Buddy of mine, one of my best friends named Phil Ashley. This would have been about 1995, 6 maybe. I thought I needed a better guitar because when I bought that guitar, like I said, it was 1980. I paid for it with my own money, $550, but I thought I was buying just an okay guitar. So I decided I wanted to sell it and then try to get a really good guitar. My goal was a Martin D18. So I actually sold it to my friend Phil for $200. And I went guitar shopping, went to IRC. There was a guy named Greg Hall, who unfortunately passed away a few years ago. But Greg was the manager at IRC Music in Castleton. And I told him that I was looking for, he had sold me the store he worked for, Thompson's Music back in the day, sold me that original Dion. And I told him I wanted to get a nice acoustic. He said, "What happened to your Dion?" I said, "Well, man, I just thought I wanted something really nice, you know." And he goes, "Do you know anything really about that guitar?" And I went, "Not really. I mean, I bought it from you guys and it's been great, but I think I need something better." He goes, "Danny, that's got a solid spruce top, solid mahogany back and side, solid one-piece mahogany neck."
It doesn't get much better than that.
He said, "For you to get that guitar now, you're going to have to spend about $2,500. And this was in 1995. And I went, "Are you kidding me?" He goes, "No." So I went back to Phil and I said, "Man, I want to buy my guitar."
Yeah, for sure.
So he was kind enough to sell it back to me. So I've had it ever since. So for anyone watching out there that wants an acoustic, I'm selling the twin to that guitar. I've got another one just like it. Only difference is it's got a cedar top, still solid mahogany back and side, solid one-piece mahogany neck. I'm asking $700 for it. Look on my Facebook page. There's videos of it and everything. Okay, sales pitch over.
That's a good deal.
But,
That's rock and roll.
That's a good deal.
But yeah, that is my till you get I challenge anyone to find a $700 solid guitar.
You won't.
You're not gonna.
You're not gonna find something that's that good. No.
Yeah, and it sounds amazing. You know, I just don't need two of them.
Right.
You know, because I go to the black one every time, and this one just hangs on the wall when I'm. You know, I've played it out a couple of times, but you know, there's nothing wrong with the guitar, but I just don't need.
Do you have a tech that techs all of your stuff, or do you do all your own tech work?
No one specific. You know, when I need something hardcore done, Johnny Ping from Ping's Music.
Yeah,
he's pretty knowledgeable. Arthur's obviously. Sometimes I'll take it to Arthur's. You know, Amy obviously knows what she's doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so, those are my two go-tos. You know,
fair enough.
So,
fair enough.
But so yes. Long answer to that question. Yes, that Dion is my favorite just because it's the one that's been through everything with me, you know, and I love that it looks beat to shit. You know, around the sound hole, there's like, you can see where the wood is thinning out. And it's like,
oh yeah, it's
not like Willie Nelson looking yet, but I mean, it's
getting there.
Like you've got the gouges out of the sound hole where of my delicate playing style. And so, it's my favorite. And then I used to, it's funny, BA teased me a few years ago. He saw a video of me playing with it's when I was sitting in with the Roundups. We did a show one time and I posted the video and it was a real cool, telly strong song. And BA even teased me about, he's in to think you used to hate Telecasters because I did. I thought they were the ugliest guitars in the world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it took me forever when I finally got a Tele. it was even a struggle for me to play it. And then I started playing it, and I was like, I liked it more. And
Yeah.
more and more. And more.
Isn't that what they say
And-
though? Is like as you age as a guitarist, eventually you come around to appreciate the most simplistic of instruments.
Yeah. Well, the one my steady one now I've had since 2000. My Gatton, I bought it in 2000, and it's the one I've played. Everyone's seen it a million times. It's at all
Dude,
the
Danny
shows,
Gatton,
everything.
man.
Oh yeah.
That's the beast. That is
Yes. Yeah.
what
Huge,
y'all know about Gatton? Nothing. That guy's nuts. Crazy guitarist.
amazing guitar player. He's the a big influence on me. But people see my guitar and they assume I play like him, and I'm like, no, I don't play like
Right.
that. You know, I've stolen some attitude from him. but,
Yeah, I was gonna say, it
that's
seems like you
about
kind of have his attitude towards music of like that was his thing. Like he didn't make it famous because he would just much rather be at home building his hot rod, hanging out, and
Yeah.
was literally, 10 times as good as anybody else around.
Absolutely.
But he just had other priorities in life, and he was focused on doing what he loved, and I feel like that's probably that's closer to you in your guitar nature. I feel like than
Well, I'll tell you, one of the best compliments I ever got was that's another thing. It's hard for me to take compliments. I mean,
right.
I appreciate them, but I find myself thinking, what do I say? What do I say? You know, but a guy come up to me after Bigger Than Elvis show one time and said, he said, that was some of the finest music I've ever heard. He said, and you play that guitar the way Jerry Lee Lewis plays the piano.
Damn.
And I was
Hell
like,
yeah.
That's all I need to hear. You know,
Go
I mean,
home happy after that one.
It really was because I understand what he was saying, because I see that when I listen to the way Jerry Lee plays piano, that's kind of the attitude that's in my head. That sort of wild abandon that, it's just on the brink of falling off the tracks, you know,
Right.
and it's, when I'm in the zone and taking those chances and you just, you could any minute now you're going to go half fret down and screw everything up, but you just reel it in, and I love that feeling.
I'll tell you what, if there was a style of piano playing that I wish would come back and an artist would like hit, maybe sell a platinum album, is that sweep piano. That old, like 40s, fucking 50s style, like Ray Charles, basically like early Ray Charles, I love that's like,
Dude, I wish that they would bring
Love
back
it.
rhythm sections like that. You know what I mean? Like good, strong, firm rhythm sections that aren't trying to show off. They're right there in the pocket, just
Solid.
killing it. Yeah, because I feel like a good rhythm section is what makes everything. A rhythm
Absolutely.
section makes or breaks a band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Bigger Than Elvis.
Yeah,
Tufty
absolutely.
and Mark.
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
guys.
those guys have been playing together since they were kids,
Right.
almost.
Tufty cracks me up
And
every
I
time
mean,
I see you.
that was that I will say Bigger Than Elvis is the most solid rhythm section I've ever played with in my life.
Hell yeah.
Before or since.
Right. That's probably
And it's all because of how long Mark and Tufty have been together and played together.
that probably contributes to what I was talking about earlier. That like wall of sound you guys have, where it's just like you guys sound huge when you're on stage. Like it's good. You're really tight. I feel like rhythm. You can't beat a rhythm section, man. You just can't.
It was good.
They're good stuff.
hell yeah.
Those are my favorites.
So this is the part that I was talking about earlier. So
We need to do what's in the box.
we are past it. Then we'll come back to the dreaded section of the show in which we always bring up, but yet some people just do not enjoy it. Although I did pre-check with Danny and he's down to have a conversation about it. What's in the box? We'll do this actually used to be sealed and it had nothing in it. That's why the joke. What's in the box? There's nothing in it. It was literally sent to my work with nothing in it, an empty box.
Oh, you got that?
Hmm?
I sent you a box with nothing in it. You got that?
I heard. Wait, what?
I'm just fucking with you, bro.
I was like, wait a minute. Are you talking about Jack in the Box? Because Jack is out. All right. This is all right, Danny. Can you roll your eyes to the back of your head like a demon?
I have no idea.
That's
That's pretty creepy. I'll give you that.
all right.
They're gone. They're gone. Yeah.
We're gonna have to
I
add
guess
some.
I can.
We're gonna have to add some more to this box.
Learn something new
But you have
every
to
day.
do that and go. No.
Oh man. I think
Here we go back to the
yeah.
Looney Tunes
One-
again. And
Yeah,
fuck
your
Fucker
best
and shit.
impersonation of Roger Rabbit. No, this is actually a good one. I doubt that you're going to be able to do this, Danny. I mean, based off of the whole show so far, time you met a celebrity. I feel like you've pretty much covered that pretty fucking well.
Yeah, I mean, there's some of the ones that I met that have really well. Here's the one that tops them all. Elvis's original guitar player was a guy named Scotty Moore. I had the privilege of meeting Scotty on several occasions, to the point to where I ended up buying an amplifier from him.
What?
And he was such a down to earth guy and so cool. The first time I met him, he was playing at the Little Opry House in Nashville, Indiana in 1992, I think. I have to check that, but I had him sign a guitar case for me, and we talked. And he had an amp that he used with Elvis that was made by a guy named Ray Butts that had a built-in delay in it. And so while I'm meeting him, then we're talking about everything, but I bring up the Ray Butts amp. I said, "Do you still perform with the Ray Butts amp?" And he looked at me and he goes, "You know about that amp?" And I said, "Absolutely." And so we hit up a conversation. I didn't see him again for about 4 years. And he was performing in Tunica, Mississippi, with this guy named Ronnie McDowell that was doing a tribute Elvis show. And he had a bunch of the Elvis guys with him, the original drummer and some of the background singers, Jordan Ayers and stuff. And so after the show, they were signing autographs. So I went through the line to get something signed again by Scotty. And I walk up to the table, and Scotty looks up at me and he goes, "Don't I know you?" And I said, "I met you one time in Nashville, Indiana." He goes, "You asked about my amp." And I went, "Yes, I did." And we started talking again. Well, I didn't want to hold up the line, so I leave. So me and so I go to the lounge in the hotel, and I'm just going to have a couple of drinks, then head back up to the room. A few minutes later, Scotty comes walking in with his lady and a couple other guys, which I found out later. One of the guys was some famous basketball guy that I didn't know. The other guy was a guy named Jerry Spilling, who was Elvis's buddy that he went to high school with and all this shit. But at the time, I didn't know it, and I didn't give a shit because it was Scotty Moore.
Right.
And I sat with Scotty and drank gin and tonics with him till 5 o'clock in the morning.
Hell yeah.
And during that conversation, I said, "Hey, I seen you in Indianapolis, and you had this real big Fender dual professional amp." I said, "Tonight you were using a couple of small PV Classic 30s. I said, what happened to the other amp?" He goes, "Oh," he said, "it's too heavy for me now." He said, "It takes two people to lift it." And he said, "I can't handle it myself." And he said, I just leave it at home sitting in the case nowadays. And so we talk about some other things. Well, just before things wrap up, he goes, "You don't know anybody want to buy that amp, do you?"
Oh, just me.
Well, I do.
"Yeah, I do know a guy that wants to buy that amp." And he says, "Well, give Gail your information." He said, "I'll get in touch with you." Well, so I did. And in my head, I'm thinking, I'm never going to hear
Yeah, right.
It's Scotty Moore. Really.
About a month later, 6 weeks later, phone rings. "Hello, Danny?" I said, "Yeah." "This is Scotty Moore." And I went, "Yeah." and he says, "Yeah, you mentioned you want that amp. You still thinking about buying it?" And I said, "Absolutely." And I'm waiting for a price. I said, "How much you wanting for it?" And I'm waiting for like some crazy, and I'm thinking, what am I going to sell? What am I going to hawk? I'm going to get rid of something.
I'm getting this amp.
He said $1,200.
Oh, no way.
Dude.
So I bought, and it was a custom amp that was made in 1993, I want to think. Fender Custom Shop amp, number 13. Anyway,
It's a lucky number.
yeah. So I bought that, and I wouldn't say that me and Scotty had a friendship, but he recognized me when he saw me. And one of the cool things, I told you how cool Lee Rocker was. Lee Rocker is a very cool guy. Played bass with Stray Cats and stuff. Real cool. Well, he played a lot of Midwest shows one year at 2000. And or 2002 maybe it was. And I went to as many as I could afford to go to. So he was playing up in Chicago, so I went up to see him up there, and Scotty was touring with Lee, playing guitar for him, and or with him. And so there's this I can't remember the name of the place he played in Chicago, but there was a little cafe that was connected to the club. So I was up there waiting in that cafe for just going to sit around till the doors open until I could get inside. About that time, through the door walks Lee Rocker's band, and I'm sitting in there, and Brophy Dale is a guy that I know, and he seen me. He goes, "Hey, Danny, what's going on? What's going on?" Lee walks in, which I'd played with him a few times, so he knew who I was, and he goes, "Hey, man." And about that time, Scotty walks in behind Lee and goes, "Well, they let anybody in here, won't they?" And he goes, "How you doing?" And Lee Rocker just looked at me and looked at Scotty, and he looked at me and goes, "You know him?" Or he looked at Scotty and said, "Do you know him?"
Awesome.
He goes, "Oh yeah, he bought an amp from me a while back."
That's so crazy.
And from that moment on, Lee Rocker was just kind of like, "Okay, this guy's good."
Dan
Right.
Thompson's
he's
all
okay.
right by me.
And that was felt good for me because Lee was a nice guy, but he still had that little air of cockiness because, oh, I'm Lee Rocker, you know.
He's a
So-
stray cat, man.
Yeah.
He,
So
like,
when Scotty acknowledged me, and Lee was like, "Oh shit," you know. So that was a good feeling.
that's like the domino of like rockabilly music, like the domino setup of rockabilly music,
Yeah,
literally
absolutely.
from Elvis all the way through to the current era. That's
Hell yeah.
crazy. That is so crazy.
So yeah. So Scotty is my best celebrity moment for that reason.
Hell
you know.
yeah.
And
That's
then when you
awesome.
think about the history, that's the thing. Without Scotty Moore, who knows what course? I think rock and roll would have happened no matter what. But Scotty was as important to rock and roll as Elvis was to rock and roll and to any of the, because people blow it off like, well, they were playing that music before Elvis, and you know, Rocket 88 came out before That's All Right Mama and all that. I agree, but Rocket 88 didn't sound like that stuff. You listen to those 5 Sun singles that Elvis did, there was nothing like that before that.
Mhm.
And it started something, and it took those 3 guys and Sam Phillips in that studio to make lightning strike,
Absolutely.
you know, lightning in a bottle right there. So
Absolutely.
So- anyway, that's my soapbox.
Dude, I can't
Hell yeah.
believe you
Best
Very
was
cool.
in the
hung out with
box
Scotty
answered
Moore.
question ever.
Hung
That's
out with
good.
Scotty Moore. Jesus. That's like
I know. Even when I think about it to this day, it's like,
I
know, and
you don't even want to know whose dick I would suck to be a fly on the wall, to sit in that, to just hang out, to be at the other end of the bar while you guys were just sitting there talking or
it's fun.
whatever.
Well, I wish, looking back on it, I wish I'd have realized it was Jerry Spelling that was sitting there
Right,
with us. 'Cause
yeah,
I would like to ask him some questions too.
Naturally,
But
that's another person with a
Scotty-
huge wealth of knowledge.
Exactly, yeah. And you know, that's the funny thing. I didn't, same way with Danzig, not asking about Misfits. I really didn't ask Scotty much about Elvis stuff, but he would volunteer it as we were talking. The only specific question I ever asked Elvis or Scotty about Elvis was, I said, during the 69 comeback special, when Elvis takes your guitar, and that's as far as I got, and Elvis and Scotty went, I could have killed it.
Yeah.
He said he reached over and grabbed that guitar. I thought, get your own damn guitar, boy. He said, this is mine.
That's
He
so
said, but
funny.
he said, I know how he is. Is that boy? He's just, that's just how he is.
That's funny though, because like in that short little clip, because like the way that the camera angle is in that short clip of what you're talking about, you can kind of see Scotty Moore's
Oh,
face a little
You
bit.
see those eyes.
And he
look
is
up at him.
not a happy man.
No.
He's like, you are not a guitarist, and you know that.
But so yeah, that's my favorite celebrity meeting.
Hell
That's-
yeah.
I've had a few. Probably my I don't know if most of them have all been good. Like I said, the Setzer one doesn't count as a meeting. He just was a dick. He just was a dick to me. That's all. Junior Brown, another country guitar player, he was, you could tell that he wanted to get the hell away from me as fast as possible. I was trying to talk to him and be nice to him, and he was just like, yep, yep, yep. And he just kept walking.
He seems
You
like a
know,
real
so-
Texan, you know?
Yeah, he was. But who knows? Maybe he just had a bad night or something.
Hell yeah. So I gotta get into it, Paulie.
Bring it.
Yeah, it's
So-
fine. It's fine.
It's what we
We'll
do.
participate
It's
now.
what we do. So Danny, in your time on this earth, have you ever experienced anything unexplainable, possibly paranormal?
Absolutely not. And I have never, I'm not a person that will never say never,
Mhm.
but it's never happened to me. And there's never been something that's happened that I couldn't think that there's an explanation for. Sandy, the love of my life, will fight me tooth and nail on that because she's told me stories about these weird things that's happened. She's seen UFOs, like she's had the crazy shit happen. just for this, if you ever have a show just on this, you need to have her out here and talk to her. But
I like where your
Challenge
head's at.
accepted.
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
but
we're growing
I
anyway.
mean, I will tell you. Can I tell you one quick story? This is
Absolutely.
Sandy's.
That's why you're here,
Okay,
baby. We want
we
to hear
want the
these
story.
stories.
Okay, this is Sandy's story. Her mom had passed, and years later, and so about a year, I think she had been gone about a year. Sandy's her and her granddaughter went to visit the grave, and while they were there, the little girl, I think she was about 3, maybe 4 years old. She was running around the graveyard and just nearby, but just looking at the headstones and stuff while Sandy was at her mom's grave and wiping it off and kind of cleaning it off. And Sandy said she was talking to her mom and crying and, I miss you so much, Mom. And, I really wish you were here. There are things I wish I could still talk to you about and all these kind of things. And so Sandy looks over and sees her daughter, Jaden's her name, or her granddaughter. Jaden's standing at this one thing and she's laughing and she's like just kind of talking back and forth. And she sees her like kind of looking and everything. So she doesn't think anything about it. Well, they're driving home and I believe it was the same day. It may have been the next day, but anyway, they're in the car at some point, and Jaden looks at Sandy and says, what? She says, Mamaw says you shouldn't cry anymore. She says, what do you mean? She says, Mamaw. She says, Jaden, when did you talk to Mamaw? She says, when we were at the grave visiting her. She was sitting on the bench. And Sandy said, what do you mean sitting on the bench? So Sandy looked back at some pictures she had taken. There was a little bench over by where Jaden was playing. And she said, yeah. She says, what makes you think it was Mamaw? She says, she told me, she said that she didn't want you to cry anymore. She said she was wearing a blue dress and very pretty. And they buried her mom in a blue nightgown with these white ruffles on the sleeves, and said Jaden described it. She said Jaden was not at the funeral. She had no idea that what she was buried in. She said she's never talked to her about that stuff. So that's one of the stories that Sandy has. And she says, so I don't know where that came from. She says, but she was too young to know anything. She said she didn't even know I was crying. She said she wasn't even near me. She said I wasn't like bawling. I was just kind of crying.
Yeah.
She goes, so anyway, that's one of Sandy's stories, but she's got a million of them.
Hell yeah.
But she's told me a lot of things that are really freaky. And, like I said, I hate to be the naysayer guy, but I'm that guy that you've got to prove it to me.
Right.
It's like, people say, do you believe in God? And it's like, I'm not going to tell you I don't believe in God, but I'm just going to say that when my time comes, if I see God, I'm going to go, all right, then.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
It's like, I won't tell you there's not a God because I don't fucking know.
Right.
You just like, you don't know there is, but
That's a good point.
you believe what you believe and, and that's fine. Just I don't preach it to you. Don't preach it to me and I'm fine. But so I don't know. I've never had anything weird happen to me. Ghosts, any of that stuff. I'm more apt to believe in UFO stuff than I am about, but even that,
Yeah.
it's like, cause I'll watch the fucking ancient alien shit and I'll see that stuff and it's like, that is pretty fucking weird.
Yeah.
It's like
Right.
how these motherfuckers build these things to those specifications, it's like, it's weird. But so I won't tell you you're full of shit, but before I'm going to say I believe in it, it's going to have to happen to me, and there's going to have to be no way to explain it.
So if there is an afterlife, when you die, will you come back and haunt us?
That's
I
the
don't think
thing.
he's mean enough.
I know, but like, dude, that would be he'd be like Casper.
Well-
Just like bigger than Elvis Casper, hanging around playing a ghost acoustic. Like,
Well, that's the funny thing. Sandy, me and Sandy's had these talks, and because she said she told her mom, she said, Mom, if you ever come back to me, she says, don't scare me.
Right.
Like before mom died, they would talk about these things, and her mom said, I wouldn't come back and scare you. Well, there's little things that have happened through times that Sandy's told me about that she said she's never seen a ghost or nothing like that, but just weird things that have happened. She has told me some other stories. I won't get into them, where she was out at some graveyard that's way up in northern Indiana that she took a bunch of pictures when she came back and developed the film. This is back when you developed film, that there was weird shit on them. And that, it was distinct. You could see that these were people,
that's creepy.
just weird stuff. So weird stuff like that. But if you ever do it, you need to have her come. But I think if people could come back and talk to us, that would be happening all the fucking time.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Sandy thinks you have to be tuned into it. She thinks that you
I-
have to. Her view is that you have to want it to happen. You have to believe that it can happen.
I think there's, and here's the thing. I was going to ask you, your Sandy's granddaughter, Jaden, is that right?
Mhm.
How old was she at that time?
I want to say she was like 3 or 4 years old.
So here's my theory. Hear me out. I know. God damn.
You need a Shep's theory button.
Theory button. You'll just hit the theory button then. It's a bad joke. But so I think that we're wired in a way that we're wired in a way that if we are raised a certain way or we're not open to a certain thing, our brains will only allow us to experience what we believe is possible in a sense. I'm not saying that just because you don't believe it at an older age, blah, blah, blah. I just think that it's more the probability of somebody under the age of 7 or 8 has a higher possibility of experiencing something like that because of the fact that they're not wired to that impossibility. And some of us might experience at a younger age, like myself or Sandy, where we experience at a younger age. So we're more open to it as we grow older because our mind tells us this is possible, because the power of belief is unbelievably real. And not saying that people don't believe, it's just a matter of the ability to be open to it, I guess. I don't know.
But I think kind of to caveat on to what you were saying, where you have to be in tune with it, I would kind of relate to, so if it is real, right? I would kind of relate it to mind sweeping. Like, I don't know if anybody in here has ever used a mind sweeper and done mind detection work. I have. I'll tell you this. One of the ways that we find it is it's usually not the detector that actually finds it. It's just the fact that you're focused on the head as it's going across the ground and you're able to see disturbances. And when you see those disturbances, you're like, and then you run the detector over it and it's like, oh, the detector found the thing. You know what I mean? But it was the actual physical act of being like honed in on just a small little piece of ground that allowed you to see it. So like, I believe that if it is real, that it has to be something along those lines. You know what I mean? Because there's things that we should be seeing every day that are absolute, that is absolute reality, but we're just so oblivious that we're not able to see it happening all the time. Cultural shifts is a really good picture of that. You know what I mean? Like, you can't see it happening, but everybody knows that it's happening.
Just kind of like we're all raised, and it's put into our very being that every day you wake up and you go to school, and then you leave school and you come home, and then eventually you wake up every morning and you go to work, and then you leave work and you go home, and it's kind of almost driven into your very being.
Danny Thompson said, "Fuck that life."
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. So Sandy did post what I'd said, and she just threw an
explosion.
In a way, it is kind of a thing. I think that it's possible that this thing up here that we don't completely and truly understand yet, that maybe that could be a part of it. So
could be.
Dude, our brains are crazy, man. Like, just the way that it works, and as we're developing more knowledge in like quantum fields, that stuff is like, that's intense. Like the whole double slit experiment, and just like the fact that observing something can change the outcome, like that blows my mind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's what would lend credence to the possibility of the paranormal being real. It's like,
well, I'd be a liar if I didn't say odd things have not happened in my life. Sandy, going back to her, I tend to go back to her a lot, is we used to, like I said, we've known each other our whole lives. We would talk a lot on the phone. Back in the old days when you had dial phones, I cannot tell you how many times either I've picked up the phone and it sounded dead and I go, hello, and she'd be on the other end, or vice versa.
That's like the sweetest thing ever, man.
But I mean, I'm other than that, just being sweet. I mean, I'm not even kidding you. I bet that's happened to us 100 times in the time that there were rotary phones.
There's probably not a lot of people that understand how that would work. So like, right. She was calling you, and before it would ring, you would pick up the phone and answer, and then it would connect the call, or you would be calling her. That's insane. Yeah. That is insane. Like, perfectly timed, picking up the phone, dial tone hitting at the right time. Like universe aligning kind of stuff right there.
And so, I mean, so that would happen between me and her a lot, and we still a lot of times will be talking about something, and sometimes I will say something and she'll look at me and she goes, I was just getting ready to tell you about that. You know, I mean, so we definitely have a connection beyond just, you know,
Right.
so there's a little something cosmic going on there. I definitely believe that.
Do you ever get the feeling that you didn't know what love was until you met her?
I've told her that.
Yeah, that's
I've told her, one of the things that I told her early on was maybe, well, I take that back, because I've always loved her, and to the point to where, you know, we're getting the mushy stuff again.
yeah, ain't nothing wrong with that,
but,
bro.
I don't mean to just to take away from the paranormal here, but
Have at it.
It's the least favorite part of our
In
show.
modern times, love is paranormal, man.
every relationship I was only in 2 long relationships, and in both of those, the one thing that I can say was a constant was neither one of them made me feel the way Sandy made me feel when I thought about her. And, you know, people may look at that as like, well, that's a shitty thing to do to the people you were with. Well, it doesn't mean I didn't love those people any less.
Right.
I just, when I thought of Sandy, I felt differently. It just, you know,
There was something else
yeah,
there.
the butterflies,
Yeah.
you know, were there that wasn't with anybody else in my life. Just that was going back to her. And some people may say, well, that's because you guys met when you were so young and you just had that attachment early, and that's why you felt that way. Maybe so, you know, but whatever it is, I can say, I know love with her is truer than any love I've ever experienced in my life.
So I have a follow-on question for that.
Yeah.
Are you ever in a position where you look around and you feel almost like sorry for people that haven't experienced like what that love feels like?
I wouldn't go to that extreme. I wouldn't say
Okay.
that I feel sorry for them. I would say that I would love for, especially people I care about, to have that experience,
Right.
and to have and to share that.
Right.
And I would, you know, but I mean, I guess if you want to black and white it, yeah, I guess, you know, I am sorry that not everyone can maybe feel what I feel, but love is different for everybody.
Right.
You know, so it can mean different things.
Sorry, that second question was a little bit more harsh.
No, that's fine. It's not harsh at all. I understand what you're saying.
The reason that I asked
But I probably do feel that way, but not in an arrogant way, not in
Right.
I'm in love.
yeah, absolutely.
You know,
it's sorrow.
but it does make me, especially people I'm close to, it makes me wish that you know, they
Right.
could feel that love that I know that we share, that we've always had.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing we've said of each other, and this is a true statement. So you're going to be jealous of me again, is I've never loved anyone longer than I've loved her, or more than I've loved her. I don't want to get into a whole family background thing, but I mean, she's been there longer and more for me than anybody else in my life, for longer than anybody else in my life. And I'm the same to her.
Right.
You know, we've shared that with you there, and that's a special thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, the reason that I say that is because as you were describing it, you reminded me a lot of Lisa, my partner, and it's like I got the same kind of vibes where it's like you're able to understand that you have this thing that it's like it's just different. It's not something that you see every day and everywhere. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and that's I was asking you specific questions that I've asked myself, like
Sure.
like do I, you know, there's times where I look around and I'm like, man, those people seem kind of unhappy, and it's like I wish that they were able to experience the thing that I've got with her, and what it sounds like you have with Sandy. Like it's kind of like the best thing ever, you know.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter what happens at the end of the day, everything's going to be all right.
Yeah. So, Shep, do you think ghosts can fall in love?
Ooh, that's a good one.
I don't know. I never thought about that.
You just blew his mind.
never.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because if ghosts have the ability to consciously do things, they have to have the ability to think and feel.
Mm-hmm.
Naturally.
You know, so they would have to be. I mean, every movie you see is usually about a ghost that's pissed off. And if you can be pissed off,
you can be pissed on.
You know, so I don't know. You know, it's like it's a whole such a huge world talking about the paranormal, because my personal feeling is I think if it was so easy to let people know that there's an afterlife, I think there'd be a lot more evidence that there
Mhm.
is. I just like with the UFO stuff, I think if aliens and extraterrestrials were actually visiting Earth, I think there'd be a lot more real evidence of it than, I think it's more likely that aliens visited Earth along. There was there was a band. What the hell was the name of that band? Alien Ant Farm.
Oh yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
like that makes sense to me. Who's to say that we're not some experiment,
Right.
that someone else is watching, it's possibility.
That's one of my favorite theories is that we're just kind of like ants. Like think about it. You don't walk by and stop and reach down to the ants and, fuck with them and stuff. Like maybe some people do, you know what I mean? But if we're like the ants of the universe, they could be just passing us by, man, because we're insignificant.
And then it goes back to, you get
Or
into,
maybe we're really significant
yeah, that's true too.
for another species, keeping
Maybe.
them running and going.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Are you saying you're a reptile?
Shit.
Danny, are you a reptile?
Not yet.
Okay.
Working on it.
I was worried, man.
He does kind of have that rockabilly reptile look.
Yeah, I know,
though, you
right? That's your next album title there, Danny. All about the paranormal.
That's right. Well, I've got two alien songs. I got All's Well and Roswell, and then I've got Abducted on my new album. So
Heck yeah.
And that's at Bandcamp, right?
yeah, you can find me on Bandcamp.
Hell yeah. You were gonna say something, but I think it got cut off. It was something. No. All right.
That's all right.
The one-liners are strong with us this evening.
Yeah.
All right.
So kind of because we are coming up on time here.
Okay.
I do want to throw out the roundups are playing this Saturday, right? In Broad Ripple,
At Half Liter
barbecue.
Barbecue. It's right around 52nd and Winthrop.
Yep.
I want to say 5103, but if you go there, we're probably right next door. If it's not that one. So,
just listen for the rock.
exactly.
And then you're playing Hillbilly Happy Hour June 30th,
June 30th.
which somehow I managed to call that.
Yes, you did.
I'll tell you what, you were talking about Universal shit. I've had some very interesting Universal shit going down the last week. Like driving directly to my truck. That was like, what the fuck?
That is
Pretty
crazy.
universal.
That is pretty crazy.
Deciding last minute before I left the house on Friday to put my Browns hoodie on, and then Jim Brown passed away. And this morning I was thinking about Tina Turner's legs. Just kidding. R.I.P. by the way, Tina. Lost a great artist. But yeah, sometimes things just work out that way. In a way, I always kind of look at it like you're doing the right thing, so the universe is leading you in the way. As long as you listen and pay attention to how life should go. So
I'm way too rebellious for that. Can't do it.
but let's go ahead and wrap it up, y'all. Danny, thank you so much for making the drive out here.
My pleasure.
Thanks for bringing us cookies.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
cookies
Did
were
you
awesome.
even get a cookie, Derek?
Thanks for the beer,
I'm
Derek.
good right now. No
Yeah.
problem, man. Oh, I was gonna shake your
Oh.
hand.
I was pointing at the cookies,
Oh,
but
yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
yes.
no problem. Danny, thanks for letting me pick your brain and
No problem.
fangirl over you for 10 minutes.
Anytime.
I know it makes you uncomfortable, but man, I appreciate the hell out of it.
Anytime.
Danny does have a guitar for sale, $700. You can go to his Facebook, check that out. And it's at Rock and Roll. So facebook.com/Rock and Roll Bastard.
It's a good one.
And then you can check out his music on Bandcamp, and then you can check out his YouTube, and that's
Dr. Danny Roadkill.
Dr. Danny Roadkill. Derek, thanks for stopping by and hanging out.
Yeah, no problem, man.
Hell yeah. We'll go ahead and let's see how we do. If Robbo was here, what would he say? He'd say, turn on your headlights. Right. And then as we always like to say, don't talk to strangers, shop smart, shop as smart. Thanks, Sandy. Appreciate you. Bless you.
Ta-da!
Yeah. You've been a great interview too,
Yeah,
by
man.
the
It's
way.
been great. Thank you
Yeah,
so
it's
much
fun.
for coming
Yeah, I had a
out.
good time.
Awesome.
I was worried I was going to be here and be like, I don't know.
Without looking at the clock, how long do you think you've been here since we started the show?
2 hours.
2 hours. We're right at
Yeah.
3.
Yeah, there you go.
Right at 3.
Time flies.
It does. Yeah. Yep.
These dudes keep it pretty easy. It's a pretty easy just
Yeah,
conversation, man.
It's
Hanging
a
out.
party. It's not a podcast,
Yeah.
man. Hanging out, shooting the shit,
Right.
having a little bit to drink, eating cookies. Yeah. So be sure to check out this Sunday. We're doing Mixed Nuts. We've got JJ Pearson coming on from Toxic Reasons.
Love JJ. Everybody should love JJ.
He's a great guy. Yeah, it's gonna
If
be.
you don't love JJ, you don't love him.
It's gonna get Canadian as fuck up in this motherfucker.
Y'all.
One quick
Yeah,
JJ
you know.
story.
Oh yeah, yeah. Let's go.
Quick JJ Pierce story. So we were playing with them at in Covington, Kentucky, at the Jockey Club. We opened for HR down there, and from Bad Brains, and it was Toxic Reasons, HR, and then Sloppy. And so it's end of the night. We're leaving. Everybody's kind of hungry, wanting to go somewhere, and little young JJ. This is like, 1985 or something, 86, 87. JJ's like, "Oh, can we go to White Castle? I only have $3." So
At $3 at that time at White Castle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's I
White
just
Castle
love
right
it.
there.
You could almost buy the castle.
Yeah, it's a Kramer box for sure.
Yeah, it's really great.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, man,
Yeah.
dude. So I'll just kind of follow up that comment or that story you just made. So my mom grew up in a family of 7 siblings. So like the big treat on the weekend once a week was White Castle,
Oh, nice.
and she's moved to Florida now and they don't really have them down there. So when she comes back to Indy,
Gotta go to White Castle.
Gotta go
yeah,
to White Castle.
she's going to White Castle. It's guaranteed. You know what I
There
mean?
you go.
She still
Absolutely.
sees it all these years later as luxury,
Yeah,
uh,
absolutely.
I got a
So-
buddy up in Michigan, man. Every time I go to see him, he makes me drive him a Crave case.
Hell yeah.
See? Yes,
Those
exactly
flavor
that.
crystals,
Yeah,
man.
you know.
Hell yeah. Again, thank you, Danny. It's been so much
My
fun.
pleasure. I had a good time.
Be sure to head out to Broad Ripple next Saturday. Check out his band, The Roundups. What was that place again?
Half liter barbecue.
Half Liter Barbecue. So again, Derek, thanks for showing up.
No problem.
We are the Unheard.
We are the overlooked.
We are Chop Liver.
You think you're weird? I think you're dumb. You fucking had it too.